Make sure you're zipped up.
Hi, everybody.
There we go.
Oh, hi, iHellboxes. Hi.
Hello.
G'day, g'day.
Good eye.
Good day. Hey, Hillel. Let's see. Make sure you're zipped up, man. Where is it? Oh, shoot.
It's caught in my zipper, Jeff!
I didn't know he had a zipper on his dressing gown, but
He should have just Velcro. I mean, that's the safer
Hey,
way to go.
that's what Seinfeld says. You know, all those teeth
Caesar.
grinding down there. You don't.
Seinfeld, never heard of it. Hello, everybody. Sorry, we are a little delayed, and the sad thing about that is that our good, wise Captain Nick is not going to be able to be here as long as he normally would be. Yeah, we're all like inside going, yes.
It's Neville Brown's fault.
What? Yeah, it's Neville's fault.
yeah, Neville Bounds. All his fault.
Anyway.
He has recruited me to talk about another book.
Speaking
You know, if you want to do those interviews on our show, you're more than welcome to. Just
That's very kind.
throwing it out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He
Trouble
did
is,
imply,
they
though,
normally
that they
take
pay
2
him.
hours and the Plain Tales 20 minutes, so I could do an entire show of an interview if you want.
Okay. Then we can take the week off.
Tell the truth, some of these books aren't very exciting.
You know, we're on the air.
Damn. Only joking. Only joking, RPE.
Well, you just said
I know
some
this
of the books. You
particular
didn't mean this
author.
one.
No, yeah, you don't.
Yeah. Who knows what he's talking about?
That's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
Who knows
This
what he's
particular
talking about is
author,
right.
RPE, or Rick Peacock Edwards, is the man who saved my flying career.
Ah.
I saw
Well,
that.
we have him to blame.
I
Yeah.
did not do that, Nick.
Oh, right, okay.
I didn't. It's got to be
Oh.
Liz.
Good job it's Nick C that we're talking about there.
Now, if there's one thing about Nick C, he never jabbers. He is not a jabberer.
What are you saying, Liz?
Well, the rest of us do jabber. He's a man of few words.
Yes.
But they're good words.
I have crickets named after me, so
I know.
Okay, let's see.
long
Let
as
me
they
make
don't
sure.
fire
here.
ants.
Now,
Jeff, speaking
how's
of
the
mics,
sound,
Jeff, you were asking me
everyone?
about my mic.
Yeah.
Are you using the right mic?
Yeah, why? What does it sound like?
Oh, it's because of the reverberations in your room.
It sounds loud
No,
and
is it-
reverberating.
It does. It sounds
If
different.
I was-
than
Are,
usual.
are you hearing this?
We are.
Yeah. So you're hearing my room, the reverberations of the room.
Read the room.
Yeah. And
But haven't you done the last couple of shows from that room?
yes, but I used a different. I used a virtual mixer, audio hijack, and I had a plug-in that was getting rid of the reverberation in real time.
Time.
He didn't
Gotcha.
like that.
Okay.
And when I'm doing the audio editing, I didn't like the way my mic sounded like that. So
Okay, fair
I'm going to do it in post. So you people watching the video are going to have to suffer through it.
Suck it
Sorry.
up.
Yeah, to suck it up and quit complaining.
Sultan of Wings. I love that name. Sultan of Wings.
I know. I like that.
I'm presuming that's a wordplay on the Dire Straits song.
Sultan's swing.
Yeah,
I think
except
they're
that-
related.
And we have a band
be.
here in Toronto called the Sultan
Except-
of Strings.
Oh,
It should be the Sultans of Swing, not the
Captain
Sultan
Nigel.
of Wings.
Captain Nigel,
Captain Nigel.
Hong
What the
Kong,
hell's he
Hong
doing
Kong
here?
Nigel.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Okay, I'm too loud. Okay, so I'll
Jeff's
turn it
too
down.
loud, and Riff is too quiet.
Too quiet.
Jeff,
It does sound
so
quiet to me.
is Jeff better now?
Jeff,
Jif will be echoey, but
Yeah, I'm going to be echoey, but I'll turn the gain down a little bit. How about now? Is that better?
Nigel.
Can you still hear me okay?
yeah, I can.
Yeah, sounds good.
And Rick's
Okay.
still a bit quiet.
I am I really? Okay, hang on.
Yeah, Riff?
something called-
Yeah,
Riff.
Yeah.
Riff is quiet.
Now, what is Nigel? What is Nick C? What's your name for him?
and Liz come to that.
What? Then quiet? I know you keep telling me that, but I've got it turned right up to the very top. So.
Well, whatever
here
you're
comes
doing right
Micah.
now.
Oh, there's
better.
Micah walking right in
Yeah,
on
this is
Nigel,
trouble.
taking his job
Here's
from
trouble.
him.
Uh-oh. There's going to be a fight. Fight!
Nigel versus Micah.
Fight. All right, so I got echo cancellation. That's checked, and then I got.
Oh, Nigel
automatically
calls him
adjusted-
Commando.
You don't need to have echo cancellation because I'm doing a mixed
Nick
minor.
Commando. show is
Commando.
Commando.
That's not bad because he goes commando.
I was
going to
say it wouldn't be bad except for the recent show art.
Oh, exactly.
And then
It
how
might
about
be.
I actually like
automatically
Nick
adjust mic
Camaro.
volume?
I think that's better. It's Nick Camaro.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Riff?
Automatically adjust mic volume. They've got that checked as well.
Okay.
My first
So now
my first
now
car
you're
was a Camaro.
fainter than you were before.
Yeah,
some
so
reason.
Okay.
Who are they coming to
Is
get?
that the police
Rick?
come
I bet it's
to
Rick.
arrest that bloke with the
Oh,
gun
it's
outside
Jeff.
your house?
Yes. It's the guy. Well, we won't go into that.
Yes, quite.
Yeah, please, let's not do that.
Let's not.
there we go.
There are certain things that we just, no.
So Stephanie is on her way home, but it's the thick of rush hour traffic, so it'll be a little.
Oh, hey, she's listening though, so everybody say, hello, Steph.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Steph. We miss you. Drive safely.
Hurry up.
Try running home. You'll get there quicker.
She
Yeah,
can
no
she
kidding.
can drive over everybody else.
You're still, so you're not using the Motu, are you? You're just using directly into from the USB into your computer, Rick?
I am, yes.
Okay. So there's no way for you to turn that up. If you can, on the
Right on, iHall.
StreamYard settings, uncheck the automatically adjust and then just use that volume slider and just bump it up a little bit.
Bump it up.
I used to. I think he has the
Cardi.
same mic as
Hi,
me, right?
Jim
I used to
Fulton.
have to run it at full power
There you go. That better?
to run my mic.
Yeah.
Getting there.
What do you mean
Certainly not
run it
too
at full
loud.
power?
I mean, in the StreamYard settings, I had to set it to 200.
Oh,
which I
really?
think is the top.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mine's
Okay.
at 200 right now, and I'm
we
also
go.
at
Is
the
it?
top of Motu, so I don't know what's going on.
Wow.
Well,
I
you're
don't know.
sounding better now, Liz.
Yeah, you are.
How's about me? How's Riff sounding?
Well, you still sound
Still
a
a
little
little
bit weak and
quiet.
feeble.
Oh no! Skip my protein.
That's no
there.
good.
I mean, you don't look like that, but you sound like it.
Yeah, it's all that soy I've been eating.
So,
Estrogen. I'm so disappointed to hear that hops are promote estrogen in the male.
Oh, is that
Oh,
true? Where did that come from?
Oh, I don't
know.
mind a bit of
Science.
estrogen.
Science.
Gives me something to play with.
Okay.
Are we kind of ready to go? Did you want to try the intro? Just try the sound on the intro?
Yeah, let me try the sound on the intro. If I can find it. Okay, how about this?
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door. WAPG.
How's that?
Sounds good
Sounds
to
good
me.
to me.
But
Yep.
Am I still too loud, or do I need
you're
need to
good.
turn?
No,
okay.
you're good.
You're
don't
good.
raise
Yeah.
your voice. Put it this way, because
Okay.
my eardrums are buckling.
Sorry. My bad. All right.
It's going to be interesting when Nick does his interview tomorrow deaf. What'd you say?
Good job on
Speak
the
up.
lip reader.
Can't hear you. All right. All right. Liz, are you
Have
ready?
we got recorders on? Recorders are on?
Oh, thank you. Of course.
Nope.
We would never forget that.
Nope, never.
Nope.
Done.
Done.
Yep, I'm ready.
Okie dokie. Here we
Let's
go.
get this show on the road.
Do it.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door. WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 541.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at former APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 19th of October, 2022.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the airline pilot guy. Hitch a ride as he's flying by with the airline pilot guy.
In today's episode, a Cessna crashes in Virginia during a training flight, killing the instructor. British fighter jets intercept a flight to Manchester and diverted because of a bomb threat. More news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 541 is ready for pushback.
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. No, thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation. 1010 wins in
New York City.
Now I say, welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, Georgia. And joining us from where the heck? No. Where's Rick's stuff?
All the way at the bottom. Great. I was waiting for it.
Crap. Ah, shut up. Okay. Hey, band, cut. Thank you. What happened? All of your... Oh, here it is, way down here. It's all grayed out and it's at the bottom. You're right, Rick. That's where it is.
At the bottom of the valley.
Why?
Of the sun.
I was going to say, I thought you were just saying your junk is at the bottom. And I said, yeah, for most of us, that's true. Okay, so I'm going to put you right here. What happened? I'm sorry. You know, I'm very, very tired, and I've had a little bit of wine.
I could have just rolled with it. I mean, it would have been.
I know, but it was just like...
Yeah, you whined a lot at me, that's for sure.
Huh?
You whined at me, that's for sure.
Yeah, well... That, you know, I don't like being I do not people that whine, and I do not like being called a whiner.
Associated with being.
Yeah, exactly.
Have another bottle.
But if you really feel that way, then... All right. Okay. Here we go. We're going to try this. Take 2.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy episode 541.
Woohoo! He's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at former APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 19th of October, 2022.
Yeah, he's up
In the sky,
It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Hitch a ride as he's flying by.
Yes, I know my mic's
The
open.
Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, a Cessna crashes in Virginia during a training flight, killing the instructor. British fighter jets intercept a flight to Manchester and diverted because of a bomb threat. More news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 541 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He is an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation. 1010 wins in
New York City.
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback and your questions. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, Georgia. And joining us from his home studio in the Valley of the Sun, world traveler, airplane mechanic, doggy rescue volunteer, fitness hound, and international air freight captain, it's Miami Rick.
Hey, everybody. Back again. couple of weeks of flying, but home now. Looking forward to a good one.
We're looking forward to it as well. Great to have you, Rick, and also joining us from his studio,
In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
professional photographer, former RAF RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Well, hi everybody, and great to see nearly a full house here. Looking forward to a great show.
We are all looking forward to it. And also, hey, it's from his studio in the Air Capital, low and slow pilot, old airplane enthusiast, and engineer in the aerospace and defense industry. It's Nick Macho Camacho.
Hey, Captain Jeff. And everybody else, I'm glad to be back again.
Glad to have you back as well. And also, last but certainly not least, a place to stand, a place to grow. From her studio in Toronto, Canada, retired financier, aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer-director, it's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody.
Great to have all of you. And we're also going to be joined, while the show is in progress, by our final co-host, probably the best one, besides me, Dr. Seth.
Certainly the prettiest, besides
Definitely.
you.
Yeah, besides me. All right.
Have a good one, boys. You behave yourselves.
Well, yeah, don't count on it. All right. Let's do some aviation news right now.
Stand by for news.
All right, let's start with item B, report. Eastern Airways E-170 at Birmingham that's Birmingham, England. So I guess it would be, how would you say that? Birmingham.
It's muted.
You could just say Birmingham because all the others are copies.
Okay.
So if you just say Birmingham, everyone knows it's in England.
Birmingham. Okay. Let's see. So they were going from there to, they were going from Gibraltar to Birmingham with 18 passengers and 5 crew, was descending towards Birmingham when the crew received a pitch trim fail caution message. The pilot flying disconnected the autopilot to counter the threat of a possible pitch trim runaway. A short time later, the AP fail caution eliminated. The crew continued the approach but needed more force than normal on the yoke. Upon landing, the crew also received a steer fail message. The captain took control and taxied the aircraft to the apron using differential braking and asymmetric power. Why? On October 13th, on October 13th, 2022, the AAIB, the Air Accidents Investigation Branch, released their bulletin concluding the probable causes of the serious incident were the failure of the pitch trim system probably occurred because of jamming of the horizontal stabilizer as a result of freezing of water ingression in the ball nut. Sounds painful.
Freezing
due to
ball nuts.
condensation. Yeah.
Although,
Show
really
title.
nasty.
And we're 5
Well,
minutes in.
I've never tried the ball nut, but I have the corn nuts are really good with beer. Anyway, the investigation found that the operator had lubricated the horizontal stabilizer at the intervals specified by the manufacturer to prevent such an occurrence. Okay, so they did what they were supposed to do. Jamming of the horizontal stabilizer resulted in the loss of the pitch trim functionality. Consequently, the pilot flying experienced greater than normal nose-down pitch forces on the approach. The pilot flying delegated the monitoring of the throttles, which were still in auto-throttle, to the pilot monitoring to allow him to use both hands on the yoke. That's kind of smart. Yeah. The pilot flying flew a stable approach and made a safe landing. However, on landing, the steer fail caution eliminated as a result of an unrelated sensor failure. The commander took control and brought the aircraft to a safe stop and taxied the aircraft to stand using differential braking. The AAIB analyzed the fixed position of the horizontal stabilizer was probably caused by the jamming of the ball nut due to the freezing of water ingress. It itself probably the result of condensation, although examination of the HSACE, I guess is that the registration number of the airplane? I don't know.
Horizontal stabilizer actuator control electronics. 'Cause it's a it's
Wow. How did you know that?
Damn, you're good,
Oh,
Rick.
shit. Okay. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and end the show. Thanks for everybody for.
Well, you can't improve on that. You're quite right.
Well, because fly-by-wire, that's the way fly-by-wire aircraft works. So basically, what you do is you're basically sending. You have position transducers on all your yoke, both for roll and pitch, and your rudder pedals. So all you're really doing, those position transducers send a displacement signal to what's called the ACES, the avionic control electronics, and those send the electronic signal to the power control units, which actually move the flight control surface. So that's kind of how fly-by-wire works. But
Well, that's just fine. But how did you know the acronym HSACE stood for that?
because it's the same on the 777.
Oh, that's cheating.
Okay. Well, we were very impressed with that. Well, we still are, actually. Because I would have forgotten it a long time ago, because it's been a while since you've flown the 777.
Yeah, it's been a little while. And sorry, I said actuator control electronics, right? That's what
I think
said.
so. I don't know.
Yeah,
It just
yeah,
sounded
actuator
complicated.
control electronics is you're actuating the actuators electronically, basically. So that's that.
Okay. Well, anyway. Yeah, we are. iHall says we are being nutballs, nutball nuts, or maybe both. I don't know. Anyway, so examination of the HSACE only identified a single channel failure. This condition alone should not prevent the surface movement of the channels, or as the channels are automatically switched after the failure of one channel. The system is designed so that only one HSACE channel is active at a time and is able to command the system. Since the HS or H stab, I guess it's horizontal stabilizer, was fixed, the active channel was not able to command any movement. After switching, the standby channel became active but could not command movement as well for the same reason. This condition resulted in the loss of pitch trim functionality and elimination of the pitch trim fail caution. The disengagement of the autopilot by the pilot flying, even though this is not required by the relevant procedure, addressed the hazard of a more potentially serious trim condition of a pitch trim runaway. Autopilot trim functionality, indicated by the elimination of the AP fail caution, would not have been available owing to the pitch trim failure. So I think what they're trying to say is that was probably a good move, even though it wasn't actually called for in their procedure.
Yeah, and something of note here. So when the autopilot, at least on Boeing aircraft, and seems to me that the fact that that Embraer uses the same acronyms as Boeing and the 777, which is what I'm familiar with, people seem to forget or not know that when the aircraft's on autopilot, right, you basically have two motors, be it directly connected to the hydraulic system, sends a actuator control electronics unit if it's a normal conventional cable aircraft, or through an ACE if it's a fly-by-wire aircraft. When the autopilot commands a pitch change, either nose up or nose down, it's not the elevator that is moved through the autopilot or via the autopilot. It's actually the entire horizontal stabilizer that causes that pitch change. And so, obviously, as we've read so far here, the fact that the stabilizer was jammed in a certain position, and when the pilot in command or the pilot flying disconnected the autopilot, he had to introduce a bit of a heavier control input force into the yoke to maintain the aircraft's vertical path, because the stabilizer itself was frozen in a, I guess, a pitch down position. So in order to counteract that, you had to pull up a little harder. So that's basically it. So as a recap, the autopilot does not move the elevator. The autopilot moves the entire horizontal stabilizer.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, let's continue as soon as I can find that. Okay, here we go. Well, no, we're still working this one here, Liz. No, I mean continue with the narrative of this one. That's okay. Let's see. So as Rick mentioned, the horizontal stabilizer was stuck at minus 2.4 degrees, and so we can go into all the details of here. Although I would note that Rick, you kind of uttered some dissatisfaction with what they did after they got the steer fail on the ground.
Yeah,
and
I mean, kudos on getting the thing on the ground, but at that point it'd be like, well, boys, I'm done. So why put yourself in a position where but I hear that I gather there's more to the story. So
no, well, so I was going to say I thought the same thing, and then I read somewhere that I guess they have some kind of a system that's like a free castering kind of a nose wheel system, and that it's not like unusual as it is in most transport category aircraft to actually control steering with differential braking and differential power. But I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I've never flown.
Well, here's the
that
thing.
airplane.
So when commercial aircraft, or at least the ones that I've flown, I don't know if the smaller ones are like, but that's what she said. I don't know how the smaller jets
yeah,
are
you
like.
do. You know what they're like.
Yeah, you usually have what's called a steering bypass pin installed prior to pushback, and basically what that does, it disconnects whatever hydraulic system is in charge of nose wheel steering. Because if you try to push back an aircraft and steering bypass is not engaged, then you cannot turn that nose wheel. It's not going to caster on its own. I am not familiar with the Embraer 175 or any other jungle jet for that matter. I've never flown any of them. So I don't know. That's why when I read just now that the guy was trying to, or gal, I don't know, I was trying to taxi the aircraft off with that differential brake and differential thrust. I'm like, well, so how does that work if you don't have a steering bypass pin installed? So, but I don't know. Maybe there's some E175 drivers out here.
Yeah, I think we need some input from the 175 guys, because it says, yeah, where's Captain Craig? He needs to call. But it says the steer fail caution was triggered by a sensor failure. This resulted in a loss of steering through the pedals and the hand wheel, which required the pilot flying to steer the aircraft in freewheel mode.
All I'm thinking is, if something happens, you put it into a ditch. Thinking as a lawyer, how do you justify that?
True.
If you had that advisory, is the insurance company going to pay up, knowing that you took it upon yourself to taxi the aircraft with that caution displayed? So I would just be like, you know what? Just send a tug out. I'm done for the day, and whatever. And I can use that time to put all my stuff away. So.
I think it depends on which, like if you what level of deduction. It was a high deductible, then maybe they'd let you skate. But if it's a low deductible kind of thing, comprehensive, then they probably would not have paid. I don't know.
I know.
So I'm just kidding, by the way. I don't know what I'm saying. I guess really the point of all this is that I guess the Air Accidents Investigation Branch.
Yeah, them too.
I don't know. Sorry.
Both of them.
Yeah, all those people. Kind of basically we're saying they did a pretty good job here of handling the situation and kind of actually thinking outside the box a little bit and doing things that really did aid in solving a good solution for this problem, except for maybe the steering thing at the end, and because it wasn't necessarily called for in their procedure. So I think this is a positive thing from this aircraft.
I like the CRM. I like how the PF delegated the monitoring of the engines to the PM. That's great. In fact, I remember while doing a when the hell was this? A couple years ago, I was doing. I was coming back and flying the 7.6, and we were on the initial sim for my 7.6 requalification a couple years ago, and one of the sessions called for a complete failure of your primary instruments, and you're basically left with your standby stack, which is just standby attitude, standby airspeed, and your whiskey compass. And as part of the problem, that since you lose most of your primary and secondary systems, you're left with manual thrust. And so, me and my FO, which basically came up with a plan where I will do the flying, and he has to make sure that we stay on speed, and just keep an eye on the speed, and as we configure, make sure that the speed is trending correctly and all that other stuff. So, exactly, you divide and you conquer. That's why there's two of us up there, and I think as far as that goes, they did a great job.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting. At first I was thinking that the pilot flying was the captain, but turns out it was the first officer, if I read that correctly, because the pilot monitoring took over control. The commander took over once they got on the ground. So it was a good move by that, the first officer to say, "Hey, boss, you got the throttles. Guard those things and make sure that they're set properly."
And that's also great. That's a good point there, Jeff, as well, because oftentimes it's better for the commander, for the pilot in command, to kind of take take a step back and look at the bigger picture, and look at the broader aspect of variables, just kind of monitor from kind of behind, and let the whoever's flying the FO just handle just strictly the flying, and concentrate on that. So that's, as I said, CRM wise, spot on.
Good job.
Till you have to taxi the thing.
Acme is they kind of expect that scenario for the captain to, and I brief this when if we have an abnormal situation. If I'm pilot flying, I'll handle like the initial action items, and I'll communicate outside. You start working the abnormal procedures inside, communicate inside. But at some point, once everything is under control and stabilized, more than likely, unless it's an unusual situation and this whole thing is dynamic, but expect that I'm going to give you the control of the airplane, and I'll take over the inside management and talking to the passengers and the flight attendants and everything else, and you just concentrate on putting us on a 15-mile final, and getting us on the ground is whatever. So
exactly,
that's the kind of standard philosophy at Acme anyway. Mm-hmm. All right, very good. Captain Nick, or Nick Camacho, you guys have been kind of quiet on this. Anything to add or subtract from what we've said so far? No?
Well, Captain Nick doesn't know what a yoke is, so I imagine not.
That's true. Yeah.
Nick Camacho?
I know what a joke is. Usually the bloke on the yoke.
Wow.
No, I it's just interesting to me that freezing condensation is kind of a edge case that I don't think would be the first thing that comes to my mind if I'm designing an airplane and I'm thinking, all right, how I'm going to actuate this surface. There are all sorts of things that I'd be worried about, and a jack screw jamming because of freezing condensation would be very far down the list for me.
Yeah, good point.
That's
yeah,
right. Well,
I wondered how effective their anti-condensation greasing was.
That was exactly what I was going to say. I wonder if they use the proper one, because the water contents on some are higher than others, and so that's stuff to keep an eye on and think about.
Well, didn't they say that it seems to me that they kind of said that they had done the right thing, that they had done the procedure as they were supposed to regarding.
Well, I mean, you can do the procedure, but if you're not using the right thing.
Well, yeah, and they said they had done the procedure in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendations. So
yeah,
maybe
so
the manufacturer may not be recommending the
right
right frequency or right
guys
material.
are so picky about this stuff. I mean,
yep.
Gosh.
Well, it's a pretty serious thing to freeze up, quite honestly.
Well, yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, now we're going to jump over to another news item. But while we're thinking about doing that, I'm going to actually download the video that I need to play for this. Thank you. Listen, very smooth, Jeff. Very smooth. Not really. Let me quickly do this. It's one of those videos that I missed in my show prep. But I think we're going to 1D crew.
1D, I like 2Ds.
I like 3D. Oh, 2D, I get it. Okay, let's see. Liz, Shame on you. That's very dirty. Okay, here we go. We're going to open this, and then we're going to... Okay, I think that we are just about ready here. Okay. Let's go to this next item, pilots ignored. It's in all caps. Controller's instructions at Zurich Airport. It's a YouTube video from Real ATC. And let's play it right now. Cool. Sound effect. Okay. Video is based on ATC communications and data from flight something or other.
Air 176 Lima Hotel, Terminal 4, your departure in slot. Air 176 Lima Hotel, hold short Alpha 2, your departure within the slot, earliest in 5 minutes.
Could you just confirm the seat, hi sir, could you just confirm the seat once again please?
Who is talking to me?
Yeah, I said hi. Can you just give us the seat once again please?
Well, do you have a call sign?
Oh, sorry mate, F176 Lima Hotel.
F176 Lima Hotel, your slot is 58 till 13, so seat 03.
Okay, seat is not 58.
With 75 Golf in 310 degrees 7 knots, runway 14, clear the land. Runway 14, clear the land with 75 Golf.
Okay, I'm going to pause this for a moment. The instruction was to hold short of a taxiway intersection. And they're focusing now on the CTOT time, which I don't think is really that significant, honestly.
No, not once you're taxiing, really. You taxi for a CTOT, which is calculated takeoff time. And it's to prevent a big build-up of aircraft queuing at the end of the runway, burning gas. So computerized time, you've got a slot, you're going to taxi in turn. And once you get going, you know, your CTOTs, you more or less throw it out the window because you'll usually go when you get to the end of the runway.
Right.
But, you know.
And so he's thinking it's 58, but like it's like 58 to 03. That's only, if I'm doing my math correctly, that's 5 minutes.
Yeah,
it's not
absolutely.
really a significant amount of time.
We could talk longer than that just about CTOTs.
Exactly.
Okay, let's continue.
Ocean 5 Lima Bravo, contact apron 121.855.
855 was confirming Bravo, no.
F176 Lima Hotel, your seatbelt is 1803, makes a slot of 58 till 13. Expect to depart within that slot.
I guess they're not happy with
Thank you, I can do that because on the screen in front of us at the gate we had 58, CTOT 58, that's fine.
Let it go!
I think that's your calculated departure time.
No, it was CTOT 1758. It was written CTOT 1758, but that's it, it's fine, don't worry.
These pilots are so... Come on.
Picky.
Then it must have been wrong.
Yes.
There must be something wrong.
Someone made a mistake.
176 Lima Hotel, I ordered you to hold short at Alpha 2, you passed, and you're at Alpha 1 already.
Oops.
Sorry.
Oops.
It's not all about slots.
I know it's a very long day for everyone, sir, so I do apologize, and if you want to write down your reporters, do that. Don't worry.
I love it.
Not that severe.
No, thank you.
Mike Juliet Heavy for the ILS number 14. Emirates 2 Mike Juliet Heavy, tower number 1, continuing 300 degrees, 8 knots.
Now, when he said that, the controller kind of says, well, it wasn't all that clear. It's almost like he's going, yeah, I understand why there was some confusion here. It's not all that clear, that little sign that you had in front of your aircraft before you pushed back or whatever.
But why are we worrying?
That's the thing. So let's continue the very end of this.
F176 Lima Hotel, line up and wait, runway 28.
Elephant wait, runway 28, there, 176 Lima Hotel.
Yeah, he's pretty slack, this guy.
Yeah. And so he goes on his way. And
476 Lima Hotel, wind 300 degrees, 7 knots, runway 28, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 28, cleared for takeoff, reference 1, sun 60 miles an hour, sorry for the mistake and for the response, please.
And for being alive, and for flying for Air France.
so, at least I got to give them credit. They did say, you know what, maybe we were a little bit, being toothy about the whole thing. We, sorry about that. Sorry about.
Pick your battles, man. Come on.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and it's like. So so here the reason why I think that it was important for us to cover this, it's almost a non-event, but it could have been much worse, because anytime you let something like this distract you into what you really should be doing and paying close attention to, like holding short of certain. In this case, it wasn't a big deal, but it could have been a big deal if they were told to hold short of a runway or a taxiway where there was going to be a conflict.
Not only that, but I was thinking, weather could have been bad, and he could have been told although he would have been told specifically to hold short of the ILS critical area, but maybe, if conditions are such that, they're conducting Cat 2 or Cat 3 approaches, you've got to hold short of the ILS critical area, and if you're told to do so, you have to, because if you don't, you may very well be compromising the integrity of the ILS that the other aircraft is relying on to perhaps even do an auto land.
Yeah, that's true.
So. And another thing, usually when things are working normally and things are flowing, you can plan on, and I mean, and I guess Captain Nick and Captain Jeff back me up on this if you think I'm right. You can expect on about a 15 to 20 minute time, for a 15 to 20 minute length of time to elapse from the moment you push back to the moment you are about ready to go. So just kind of work backwards from there. And again, pick your battles, because if you don't want that kind of energy in the flight deck. At least, I mean, I know I don't. So,
but we all know people that they latch on to something, and we all know, and unfortunately, one of the characteristics of a lot of people that are in our job is like, I have to be right.
We're very type A.
And there are a lot of controllers that way too. And then when you have a controller and a pilot that are both type A and we're both right, that can be a good point, Liz. Clash of the type A's. And I've just found, and I'm not really that type A person. If I do something that's wrong, or I think that maybe I've misunderstood something, or I could have made a mistake, I'll just go ahead right away and say, hey, I'm just, I think maybe I misunderstood or whatever. I'm not one of those people. I'm going to die on this sword because it's so important for me to be right about it.
And you think about it, that's not the kind of person you want in command, really. No. You want someone that is able to obviously be assertive,
yes,
but also be able to understand when you're in the wrong. Because if you are one of those that never makes a mistake, you're dangerous, and that's not good.
So true. So true. Okay, let's remove this from the studio.
There's a doctor in the waiting room.
Oh, what? Really? Oh, wow.
There she is.
Dr. Steph.
Hi.
Woo-hoo. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Well, look at that. Yeah, full crew. Yeah. I'm not going to play your thing and do your thing, because I usually screw it up anyway.
No, it's okay.
So thank you.
If people don't know who I am, they can go back and listen to the last episode.
What he's trying to say is he already screwed it up on the first go around, and he doesn't want to go over two.
Thank you for clarifying, Nick Camacho.
I had a suspicion, but yes.
Yeah, who invited this Nick Camacho guy to be with us? I don't like him. Okay, yeah, that is what I'm saying. Okay. Let's, now that we have Steph with us and Nick Camacho, because they're more focused in on the general aviation world, we have a couple of items in our news that I think would really benefit from their knowledge, experience, and analysis. And let's go to item 1A. I have not clicked on the right thing. Here we go. A Cessna 172 Skyhawk, November 97883, was taking off from runway 20 at the Newport News Williamsburg Airport. At 100 feet, about 80 seconds into the takeoff, the aircraft reportedly pitched up aggressively, lost lift, and crashed 200 feet from the departure end. 3 people were on board the plane when it crashed. Police say the plane was piloted by a student, 18-year-old Oluwagbohami Ayamaidawi Boyd of, yes, that's the way you say it, of Hanover, Maryland. He was taken to a local hospital with serious injuries, then transferred to the Virginia, or VCU, I'm not sure what that stands for. Virginia
University,
Commonwealth
maybe?
University Hospital in Richmond. Okay. State police officials say the female instructor identified as 23-year-old Victoria Therese Isabel Jungmann of Williamsburg died at the scene. She was a licensed commercial pilot as well as a flight instructor. From her roommate, a quote, Victoria didn't have a single bad bone in her body. Not only was she nice, but she was intelligent, beautiful, adventurous, punctual, a risk taker, and radiated positive energy. That was Miana Mabry, her roommate. She was truly someone you only meet once, and I will love her until the day after forever. That was nice. A third person, an 18-year-old male, also suffered life-threatening injuries. Both 18-year-olds are students in an aviation class at Hampton University, according to investigators. The FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board are now investigating the crash. Virginia State Police provided an update Friday morning on the investigation and said it revealed that the student pilot at the controls attempted to pull the aircraft up too steep at an angle at takeoff. This caused the airplane to stall, which led to the crash. And as I said, the official cause of the crash remains under investigation. So this is one of these situations where, and I guess it's not too unusual because I was looking at some of the commentary regarding this incident in Catherine's report. Oh yeah, I need to start saying all this stuff, but we have the information from Catherine's report and also the AOPA.org, where there are times when certified flight instructors can be startled and overwhelmed by a student who kind of freaks out and starts activating controls, and sometimes are so strong and big and powerful that the certified flight instructor can't override what is happening. And this seems to be, although that, of course, it's still under an investigation, maybe, or at least a possible scenario in this. The only thing else that I would mention here is that when they cleared them for takeoff, they did warn them that caution wake turbulence. There were some military fighters that had taken off on a crossing runway, and they said caution wake turbulence. Now, I'm not sure if that's a factor or not. It could be. You encounter wake turbulence from some high-performance airplanes. That could really kind of cause your airplane to do, things that you weren't expecting. So that's a possibility as well. So they're really not sure exactly what happened here, but it seems to me most of the sources that I went to for this accident kind of were pointing toward the student overpowering the controls and
So most of the discussion that I've seen has been around that, and I think certainly we don't know the official cause, and there's Mark Anderson makes a good point in the chat room too, which I'll get to in a second. But I think a lot of the discussion has been around that, especially from a lot of the forums that I've been on, where there are a lot of flight instructors, because this is something that perhaps you don't consider as much, especially when you're first starting out as an instructor, and something that's very scary to especially flight instructors who are smaller stature, not as strong, that's a possibility. And what do you do in that scenario? So there's been a lot of discussion about things that people have encountered in the past and have done to mitigate that type of a situation. The best one I saw, or the one that I liked the most, it was very interesting and seemed to be very effective for that particular instructor, was they carried a feather with them in their pocket. And if there was someone who wouldn't let go of the control, they would stick it in their ear. And they said every single time it's effective, the person drops what they're doing and looks over
Stick them in their ear.
with a feather.
Knock them in the next one.
Well,
A feather?
that was a feather. But most of the comments actually
Tickle,
were,
tickle, tickle.
karate chop, some sort of, aggressive maneuver. But no matter what, you have to be paying attention to what's going on. You have to have some sort of thought and action plan, because if it's someone who's very strong, someone who's very new at the control, someone who's, has a very unexpected response or inappropriate input, you have to be able to counteract that pretty quickly. I'm not an instructor, and any, training environment type stuff that I've been in has mostly been working with pilots who are, getting an intro to flying skydiving operations, and so they're already commercial and rated pilots, so it's a little bit different. They still, there's a lot of training aspects that go into that as well, but it's usually not me having to take over on the controls. The thing that Mark brought up is, if someone's seat moves back abruptly on takeoff and you bring the controls back with you, that would be not ideal either.
That is a factor that apparently there was some kind of an AD regarding that, and that they're supposed to get that fixed because it's not unusual for the seat rail or the seat to be
having flown
locked.
a 172 November model like this one is the very first 172 that I probably did my first 100 hours in. I've had that seat move unexpectedly before.
And it's funny when I was a CFI, that's something that I used to actually brief that. If your seat moves aft, or if my seat moves aft, I will let go of the controls and just roll with it. Same thing with you. If your seat moves aft, let go of the controls, because if you don't, we will both die.
That's not good.
Yeah, exactly.
It's certainly briefed as well. I mean, we talked about it because it's a no.
Yeah, and be it a Cessna 172 or a 747, anytime there's any kind of seat issue, that is AOG, aircraft on ground. I mean, that's something that will ground that aircraft, because you got to figure out what's wrong with the seat before you can go on.
Captain Nick, so you were an instructor pilot in the military, and I was too, and we wore helmets and oxygen masks. So did you have a technique for taking over a situation if your student may, be monopolizing the controls?
Not really, because we were in a fore and aft situation. So we reached in separate cockpits.
Yeah.
But I will say that it was so ingrained in military student pilots that the formal handover and takeover of control, was essential for safety. I have control, you have control business. It was very formal. And it was never sort of, in my experience, abbreviated or turned into some slang. You got it, I got it. It was kept like a formal order, so that if the instructor said, I have control, you immediately relinquish control, because, you were kind of used to receiving orders like that. And I wonder how well disciplined, or perhaps it's the wrong term because we're talking about civilian instructors here, but how much time they spent ingraining that reaction from their students, rather than being all nice and pleasant about it. You take the aeroplane, I'm fine, rather than this is what when we're in an emergency situation, I need you to react immediately if I say these words.
Some of the people in our live audience are kind of pointing toward Captain Dana's technique of the baseball bat and hitting them in the head. But not everybody has one of those readily available. Now, I flew an airplane when I was a training instructor in the U.S. Air Force. The trainer that I flew in the T-37, the tweet was side by side, and if somebody was monopolizing controls and pulling back on the stick or doing something inappropriate, all you had to do was just reach over and squeeze the oxygen mask hose. And as soon as you did that, they can't breathe anymore, and then the natural reaction is to just let go of whatever they're holding on to and just grab their oxygen mask because they can't breathe.
Yeah,
no, I'm not.
That's a great way. Yeah.
To Captain's Nick's point, I guess the importance of the right phraseology as far as who is flying the aircraft is of such importance, really, that it is standard operating procedures. What verbiage has to be used, the words that have to be said in that exact way. So that there is no confusion, there's no vacillation as far as who is flying the aircraft at one point or another. And at least for my airline, the words are, "I have control," "You have control." Anytime you transfer control of the aircraft, not only that, but you have to do it. You say it, and then whoever is taking over control of the aircraft has to say, "I have control," to make sure and confirm that the person actually has control, whether the autopilot's on or not. So.
But if you're in a situation where somebody is panicking, especially if they're relatively new to flying, those words aren't going to mean anything, I don't think. They're just going to be
that 100%.
Yeah, they don't hear that at all.
Yeah.
They're just like grabbing on for dear life.
You know what I was thinking? So I read about this this terrible accident, and this young, beautiful girl full of promise. Obviously her ultimate goal was to become an airline pilot.
Yep.
And it just makes me think about how lucky we are to get to where we got, because this could have happened to any of us, and it wasn't her fault.
No.
And so when I read about it, it just broke my heart, because I remember those days coming up as a flight instructor, and I went into her Instagram the other day, and she was holding short, and there was this ERJ 145 landing there, and she was following it along with the camera. And I remember those days, looking at a jet and thinking, man, that's gonna be me one day. Mm-hmm. And so it just killed me. It would have been.
It would have been if this had not happened.
But if we get to it, there's a similar item coming up in the news.
Yes.
Where the instructor was screaming, "Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go," which is, I don't know, is that kind of he's forgotten what to say, or is it his last ditch shouting at his student to let go of the controls, because if they don't react to what you've briefed them, and also your absolute, your determination to make sure they understand who's in command of the airplane. You're the student and the instructor. I don't want to come in heavy on this, but if it's going to kill you, you really want your student to understand what to do if things start to go wrong. And relinquishing control is a vital part of that.
Absolutely.
I think one important aspect of that, though, is that second one you're talking about, Captain Nick, was a discovery flight. So it wasn't even a student in a program yet. That was like a first flight experience.
Good point.
So I do feel like the expectation for verbiage would be significantly lower.
Well,
understood.
Let's jump right into that. Since we're talking about it, it's going to be the next thing we're talking about anyway. Nick Camacho, why don't you go ahead and take control of this one? You have the aircraft.
All right. This is, let's see. Let me scroll to the top here. This is from Catherine's report. Mm-hmm. Let's see. September 8th, 2022. This says CSA Piper Sport, fatal accident occurred September 8th, 2022 at Santa Monica Airport. That's Los Angeles area. On September 8th, 2022, about 16:26 Pacific Daylight Time, a Czech Sport aircraft, Piper Sport, November 126 Whiskey Kilo, was destroyed when it was involved in an accident in Santa Monica, California. The flight instructor and student pilot were fatally injured. The airplane was operated as a Title 14 CFR Part 91 instructional flight. The flight was an introductory flight lesson for the prospective student pilot with a flight school that was based in Santa Monica Airport. Prior to departure, the instructor provided about 45 minutes of basic ground instruction. Preliminary ADS-B data indicated that the airplane departed from runway 21 at 15:51, flew runway heading, and turned right after reaching the Pacific shoreline a few minutes later. The aircraft continued to fly north along the coast at altitudes varying between 600 and 2,775 feet mean sea level. After reaching Malibu, the airplane turned inland and around Point Dume Peninsula, then back east along the coast towards Santa Monica. At 16:22, the airplane had joined the right downwind leg for runway 21 at the traffic pattern altitude of 1,200 feet. By the time the airplane had reached the base leg, it had climbed to an altitude of 1,375 feet, and as it made the base leg turn, it began to descend, reaching 600 feet once it was established on final about 1.25 miles from the runway threshold. Multiple witnesses observed the airplane land on runway 21, with one describing the landing as hard. The witnesses stated that the airplane then began to aggressively pitch up and climb, while the engine made a sound consistent with it going to full power. All the witnesses provided similar accounts of the airplane continuing to climb in a nose-up attitude before leveling off at apex of the climb, then spinning to the left, descending, and colliding with the ground. A security video camera located on the southeast side of the airport, adjacent to the runway 21 threshold and facing north, captured the final landing approach segment. The video showed the airplane descending over the runway threshold markings at an altitude of about 25 feet above ground level and then passing to the left out of the camera's field of view. A second camera, similarly positioned but facing northwest, captured the other end of the runway threshold markings. As the airplane came into view, the main landing gear was already on the ground, and the airplane then began to climb in a slightly nose-up attitude. Over the next 3 seconds, the airplane pitched up to an almost vertical attitude and climbed out of the camera's field of view. The shadow of the airplane on the runway surface indicated that it continued to climb for another 2 seconds before descending and striking the ground about 5 seconds later. A preliminary audio recording of the airport's Common Traffic Advisory frequency captured the airplane's communications during the landing approach. The instructor provided clear indications of the airplane's position as it flew in the traffic pattern, and the tower controller provided the pilot a clearance for the option during the landing approach. The pilot responded that it was going to be a full-stop landing, and a few seconds later, the audio captured the instructor screaming, "Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go." The airplane struck the ground in a nose-down attitude and came to rest at the intersection of taxiway B and B4, about 375 feet south of the runway 21 threshold. The cabin, inboard wings, and entire tail section were consumed by fire, with only ash remnants of the aft cabin and tail structure remaining.
Yeah, that was not good. Very sad. So, as you mentioned, Nick Camacho, this was not an instructional flight, but kind of an introductory kind of flight.
Yeah, right.
Someone who doesn't have a lot of experience in airplanes, especially small airplanes, and obviously, just freaked out for some reason, and the instructor pilot couldn't overpower them. And as Captain Nick mentioned, this is very similar to the first item the item we just talked about.
Yeah.
What do you think, Steph? I have a question. How can a company call their airplane a Piper Sport when they're not Piper?
I had the same question. like that seems very confusing.
So
from a trademark
it was
standpoint.
a Piper. So basically, what it is it's a
They
Czech
bought the-
airplane. Czech Sport is the company that manufactured them, and then for about 2 years, Piper licensed them and sold them in the States as a Piper airplane. So
Okay.
that's how the weirdness happened.
I was wondering how that worked out. Okay.
And I'll tell you, I love it. We cover the entire gamut of aviation here. This is great stuff.
Sad stuff here.
Yeah, really.
No, I mean having that audio is, gosh, that's so disturbing to think about what was.
Oh, I
happening
know.
at
Just
that
to
moment.
let go. I mean, I purposely did not seek out that
Sure.
audio
No,
because
no.
that would have been just too hard to hear.
Heart-wrenching.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one, very similar things, one on takeoff, one on landing here. But it's kind of brought this conversation of what do you do if you're the instructor, the PIC in that situation, maybe not even with a student, maybe with just a passenger who's sitting up front in a GA aircraft that decides for some reason they're grabbing onto the controls for dear life and not letting go because of some sort of previously unrecognized fear or concern. I don't know. Have a plan, I suppose. Think about the possibilities.
By the way, that AOPA, in our show notes, the AOP analysis of that first one in Virginia has some discussion about some CFIs and what they would do in a situation where a student or whatever, an introductory flying person is grabbing on and doing things that are not appropriate, and how they can kind of take control of the situation. So it's definitely worth watching that video. It's pretty important. All right, let's unless we want to say anything else about that, let's move on in our news segment to the next one, which is this. We talked about a situation in our last show where there was a Iranian A340 flight, 340 airplane, an Iranian flight. I forgot where they were going, but they were asked to divert to a certain field, and then Captain Nick had mentioned the fact that if this had happened over, near London, that they would specifically tell them to go to a designated field, Stansted. And this item here talks about a British holiday jet that was causing concern, intercepted by fighter jets after an alleged bomb threat. A Jet 2 flight from Turkish holiday resort of Dalaman to Manchester was intercepted by 2 Typhoon fighter jets, some of Nick's favorite jets, I think, and escorted to Stansted Airport in Essex after an alleged bomb threat was made against the flight. In a statement, the Royal Air Force said its quick reaction alert Typhoon aircraft were launched this evening from RAF Coningsby to intercept a civilian aircraft that was causing concern. The RAF confirmed that the Airbus A321 aircraft landed safely at Stansted Airport, a designated airport for dealing with terror threats and hijackings. The incident closed down the airport for a brief period, but a spokesperson for Stansted said that departures and arrivals had now resumed. A Jet 2 confirmed in a series of tweets that Flight 922 had been diverted to Stansted under the direction of UK Air Traffic Control, specifically Adam, and had been sent to a remote part of the large airfield where police met the aircraft.
He just likes messing people around.
Anyway, so we thought that was kind of timely because we are. Yes, thank you to Captain Nick. We're above or at least the 50% guarantee here at the APG, and you had mentioned that Stansted was one of those designated airports where they're set up for this kind of thing.
The reason is that if there's a big bomb on there, Stansted's a pretty ugly airport anyway, so no one really cares if it gets blown up.
Yeah, I like Stansted. I see flying there with a 747.
Well, that's the reason. It's got nothing but guys flying freight in. Who cares if they get blown up? Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. I mean, if you want to see some funky airplanes in the London area, you go to Stansted. We used to park next to IL-76s, AN-124s all the time. A lot of Eastern Bloc type stuff. It's really interesting.
Got to be really careful walking around there because they're all these cargo jets. They're all leaking hydraulic fluid and oil everywhere.
No, they're not. They're just
very easy
marking
to fall over.
They're just what?
They're just marking their territory.
Oh, marking.
Love it. Love it. Yeah.
Jim Fulton.
It's nice to see the Typhoon's doing a good job. I love that aircraft.
Yeah, you do.
It took over. Yeah, it took over from the F3 Tornado, and we were all very relieved to have an airplane doing the fighter role that could actually, could turn around.
I was assuming when I saw Typhoon, I guess because it starts with a T, I was thinking tornado, or tornado.
No.
You do
John
like
Ada used to take the entire length of the country to do an orbit. So the Typhoon was a pleasant.
And that was with the
after
wings
that.
not swept back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and combat flaps out and full burner. Yeah,
it's a fast airplane. Okay.
No, it's good. So that's where you go. Having said that, of course, the captain has the right to go and do whatever he wants if he's in an emergency situation. So if he doesn't want to go to Stansted, he can always try not to. But I have to say, with a pair of fully armed Typhoons sitting behind him, he'd probably be, inclined to go where they ask him to.
That's why you said would try not to. Okay,
Yes.
Try.
Unless the horizontal stabilizer actuator control electronics are acting up, then
Yeah,
he just
or he's got
taxi it. So,
or he's got icy nuts.
Icy nuts. That's the other reason why.
Yeah.
Okay. Icy Nuts. Possible show title. All right. Let's continue with our last item in the news segment. Russian warplane crash. Let's see. An apartment block in Russian southern city of Yeysk was ablaze after a military aircraft crashed into the residential area. At least 13 people have now died after a Russian fighter-bomber plane crashed into an apartment block in the southern Russian town of Yeysk, officials say. The two pilots of the Su-34 jet on a training flight ejected before it hit the building and caused a huge inferno. Rescuers revised the death toll after finishing their search of the rubble, Russia's emergencies ministry said. 3 children were among the victims. The officials...
Bless
you. Beg your pardon.
The official... Wow,
that was Captain Nick reenactment of what happened.
Exactly. That was like the explosion.
The guy sneezed and crashed.
When it hit the apartment building. The official said that 68 were rescued from the blaze in the 9-story block. 19 injured people are being treated following the Monday evening crash, according to the pilots who jettisoned from the plane. The reason for the crash was a fire in one of the engines during takeoff. At that point, where the Su-34 came down in the courtyard of a residential block, the plane's fuel supply caught fire. I do have some video that I can play. Let's see if I can load that up right now without too much delay. And here we go. Boom, open, and add to stream. Boom. Because there's some... right before it hit the building, you could see a flash of fire. Whoa. And there's some of the aftermath of it. Let me turn down the volume of this. Officials said it failed to gain altitude when the engine caught fire. And the residential building was engulfed in a fireball after the impact. Some scary music. At least 6 people died. 6 people were missing. As we know now, it's at least 13. And there's some pictures of the exterior of the apartment building. There's some pieces of the airplane that we're seeing now in the video. And both pilots ejected safely before the jet went down. And yeah, it was not a good situation here. Yeah. Russia's investigating authorities said it had opened a criminal inquiry. That's always interesting to me, the terminology when they say a criminal inquiry. I'm not sure it means the same thing that we all associate with criminal inquiry, but it seems like in the world over there, in the Russian world, they seem to use that term quite a bit. And as Liz is saying to me in my control room ear, it's like maybe a forensic kind of investigation, maybe not necessarily a criminal.
A lot of countries have a sort of parallel system where you get one team will look at it from a purely safety aspect. Another will actually look at it from much
An
exactly that, a
investigatory,
criminal aspect. We're looking to see if there are any charges that need to be brought. So it's a very interesting mix in different countries. The United Kingdom, of course, we tend to have the AIB, which is really purely a safety organization, and it's very rare for that to move on to the police, who have to conduct their own inquiry. So if you're giving evidence to the AIB, you usually need to, it should be explained to you that this couldn't be used in a court against you. So it's a way to ensure that whoever's involved in it, if they survive, they give a true account of what has occurred, and they don't try and couch their words in a way that absolves them of any blame. So there are two different ways of approaching this.
Okay.
The Su-34, NATO reporting name Fullback. It's a development of the Sukhoi Su-24, which was kind of Russia's copy of the F-111. So side-by-side cockpit, swing wing, etc. And the Su-34 has taken that concept to the next generation. Similar cockpit layout, similar role, but with a much more advanced looking double sweep delta canards, twin fins, that sort of stuff.
Oh, the F-111 ski?
Yes. Well, the Su-24 was. It looked very similar to the F-111, but this looks more like a sort of a fulcrum or a flanco, but with it's got canards, and the wing shape is very advanced.
Looks like it's because the Sukhoi 37 has got the canards, whereas the Sukhoi 27 does it, and the airframes are very similar. But yeah, you're spot on that, Captain Nick. The side by side is a it harkens back to the Su-24 days, which harken back to the F-111 aardvark days. I believe the last Air Force to use the F-111 in active service were the Aussies, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, they loved it. It was a great airplane for them. In fact, their airframes were in such good condition. At one point, the American Air Force wanted to buy them back.
It's really interesting. The ejection, the escape system on the F-111, it wasn't just the ejection seats. The entire front end of the aircraft, it was a capsule. The entire cockpit would separate from the aircraft, detach, and keep the crew in there, and obviously with parachutes and everything, that would land all on its own there, while the rest of the aircraft landed somewhere else. I thought that was really interesting concept.
And an interesting point to that, when they descended in the front end of the airplane, the capsule, if they landed on an ocean, they could couple this control stick to a bailout device. So if they started taking on water, they could move the stick back and forth in a rapid and exciting motion, and they would bail out.
Could you show us how that works again?
They would squirt.
Yes, please.
They would squirt stuff out of a hole in the side.
It's getting worse.
Hey, Nick, you have this this picture behind you. Is that your son? Is that your son in front of that airplane and behind you?
Yeah, absolutely. What a handsome boy he is.
That mop of brown hair, I'm sure that's military spec.
I know. Wearing that sleek and elegant Air Force flying suit.
What an amazing
otherwise
creature.
known as a goon suit.
Very nice.
Or an immersion suit.
Yeah, that's, of course, Captain Nick when he was a couple of years younger.
Just a few, yes.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
Interesting. All right. Okay. Well, that was exciting. Okay. Nick, we are looking at the clock. It's getting late for you. I know you have an early morning and some traveling to do. So due to that, we're going to go ahead and play if I can finally get this thing to... Okay, here we go. We're going to do this. We're going to ask you to tell us what you've been doing since the last episode, and then you can leave us and go to bed.
That's ever so kind of you.
Yes.
Thanks, Jeff. Actually, not a lot last week, so I'm going to move on to what I'm doing tomorrow.
Okay.
So that's the reason I put that picture in my background, is because tomorrow I'm going to, there we go, put it that way around, speak to the author of this book called The Nat Boys. So Rick Peacock Edwards, fine ex-QFI, and he flew Lightnings, Phantoms, obviously the Nat as well as the QFI, and the air defense variant of the Tornado. So great career, and ended up on, I think, Air Commodore. But this is a book he co-wrote with Tom Ellis, and we're going to talk about it tomorrow. So that interview should probably come out on PG UK, I think, since Neville's doing the filming. Anyway, brilliant. Looking forward to chatting about that. And that was me during my time. In fact, I'll tell just a wee story about RPE, as he's more commonly known in the Royal Air Force. He was a flying instructor at RAF Valley when I was on the Nat. And I had got through almost all my training until I got to my final navigation test. So it's quite close to the end of the course. And I failed it. Came back, not good enough, kept getting lost. And, yeah, well, as you do.
It's kind of important to know where you are.
Yeah, it was kind of a high-low, high profile. So you do a high-level transit, descend a low level, beetle around, the Wales or the hills of Scotland or wherever, and then climb back out and come home. The Nat didn't have a lot of gas, by the way, so it was one of those exercises you had to be very careful of your fuel consumption. Anyway, I failed this test, and so I was allocated to a much more senior instructor, and RPE was in Standard Squadron at the time, a squadron leader, I think, by then. And he kindly took over my instruction. And he said, right, let's go and do an extra nav. And he checked on my planning and said he was happy with that. And off we went. And we descended in to low level. And we were beetling down. And when you get to a turning point, we used to have some turning point checks to do. And after you pulled this wee little Nat round the corner, and aircraft like this, you don't just bank and to turn, because if you bank, it'll just go in a straight line with its wing down. You've got to pull hard to get it to turn tightly round a corner. So we'd pull a few G to go around the corner, snap roll out, and it was very sensitive and roll the Nat. It was delightful. Onto your new heading, and then you had to go through some checks to make sure the clock was running correctly, calculate the time error you had there and what speed now you're going to fly this leg at. You had to double check your heading to make sure it was on and on the correct heading. And whilst you're doing that, you used to look down and check that the compass was dot crossing. The compass was reading from a magnetic detector in the wingtip, because that's a nice place away from most of the grinding metal that allows the compass to work clear of the magnetic influence.
The flux gate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would transmit its heading
flux
to the gyro in the cockpit where you were reading it. And as it was doing this, it would have a little indicator, and when it was reading correctly, this indicator would dot cross. In other words, one moment it would show a dot, and then it would show a cross, and then it would go dot cross, indicating that it was nicely stabilized. If it was all dot or all cross, it was wrong, and you would mechanically set the heading. What I didn't know as a student without many hours on this airplane was that after a high G turn, it used to take a little while to settle down, perhaps 30 seconds or a minute. I used to go straight into this series of checks, and I'd look down at the compass and go, oh, it's not dot crossing. So it's on dot. I'll give it a tweak. Doing so, I would actually desynchronize the compass and set off on a heading perhaps 20 or 30 degrees off from where I was supposed to be going.
Oops.
And within 3 or 4 minutes, when my next checkpoint up, I'll pick up a map and say, right, now I've got to pass a church with a spire. And I could be looking around. We can't see any churches. So, not good. Anyway, within a couple of turning points of this, RP from the back said, what the bloody hell are you doing with the compass? And I went, well, I'm just making sure it's dot correct. Leave the damn thing alone. And from then on, I never had any more problems with my low-level navigation, which was fantastic. So I flew 3 or 4 times with him and, got through my final nav test without any problem at all. So, Jim's asking, was the Hawk much for... Oh, yes, it was. For a few reasons, Jim. The Nat was a very complicated little aircraft because they had to squeeze a lot of it into a tiny space. For example, because of the enormous speed range and the tiny cockpit, the stick had to be continually sort of the datum for the stick, particularly in the fore and aft movement, continually had to be redatumed so that you could actually get full movement on it.
Full extension, yeah.
Yeah, they had this really complicated system called the Hobson unit that would continually move the stick datum so that, as far as you were concerned, when the stick was held in the middle, you were in trim, but that had to continually move up and down. And understanding how that worked was really complicated. And the CAM-K and the Cubstun drill and all the things that Nat pilots used to have to learn. If you had an engine failure and lost the hydraulics as you would, very quickly you had to go through quite a complex drill in order to make sure that the all-moving tailplane froze, as it would do, at an angle that would allow you to control the airplane with a very small elevator that was stuck on the back, which you had to physically unlock. If you let that tailplane, because it's such a big surface, lock out of datum, then the aircraft would be uncontrollable. You go into because you wouldn't have enough elevator control from this little tab on the back that you used to unlock, and various other anomalies. So it was complicated and used to go unserviceable a lot. So when we got the Hawk, not only was its fuel consumption fantastic in comparison, it was a lot more reliable and much better for the instructor with a fantastic view from the rear seat, that sort of thing. So yes, it was a much improvement. The Hawk was only in service with the RAF for 16 years. Sorry, the Nat was only in service for 16 years, which is pretty short when you think about it. The Hawk has been in service in air forces around the world, I don't know, 48 years now, I think.
Wow.
It's still flying with the US Navy, and it's still flying with
T-45,
the Australians.
right.
Yep. And it's proved to be an incredibly successful trainer. So, it's good.
So what altitude were you guys doing the low levels?
With an instructor, 250 feet. When we were
that's pretty low.
so low, we were only supposed to go down to 500 feet. But,
Okay. So, like, if you ever get in a situation where you were looking for that church steeple and you're going, I don't see anything. Did you ever, pop up and then you get a little bit of altitude and it's amazing how, you can see so much. If you just get up 1,000 feet higher than you are.
It was a very natural thing to start creeping up, but you weren't supposed to, because you were supposed to pick features with vertical extent.
I know,
so
but if you're completely
them.
lost, just pop up and go, I can see everything. I know exactly where we are.
Yeah, exactly. You're quite right.
Low radar.
There you go.
Radar.
But anyway, RPE got me through my final nav test. So, but that's the reason I ended up on Phantoms, because they thought I needed a navigator.
You know what? We don't trust this guy out there by himself. He's going to
Exactly
end up
right.
in like
Very clever of you.
Iceland.
Yeah.
So,
But it's interesting that the Phantom Navigator never navigated, or very rarely.
Well, what good are they
He operated the air defense radar, the great big radar in the front. The pilot did all the navigation, because the guy in the back's busy looking at the big bowl of green soup. That it was the radar display trying to spot enemy fighters.
Hey, you know what? In my book, you will always occupy the same seat Robin Olds occupied. So that's
Oh
good.
yeah, yeah. I tell you, a bit smelly that seat, but there you go.
I bet, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm joking. Yeah, I know. But an awful lot of guys flew the Phantom, and there are some real famous ones amongst them. To be, even qualified in the same airplane as Robin Ells was, considered for me to be a great thing. Fabulous.
There you go.
Well, Main Man Micah asks, had you not gone to the Phantom, what would you have flown?
Well, the aircraft available were the Harrier. Not much chance of getting onto that, because you had to be a member of the Harrier Mafia to get onto that. The Jaguar.
secret handshake and whatnot.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Secret handshake and whatnot.
Yeah,
kind of thing?
absolutely. Yes, you needed to be a Mason. All the idiots like Nige, Captain Nige, went onto the Jaguar.
Sorry, Nige.
There were a few seats left
do
on the
love
old
you, Nige.
Lightning, but you.
Helicopters.
Hot air balloons, I think, actually.
Hot air balloons.
Kites.
Yeah. Yeah, the Lightning was an option, but the thing was falling apart and it was pretty useless. So no one really wanted to go onto that.
I think you did all right, because I would have picked the Phantom if I were you.
That's an
absolutely,
awesome airplane.
yes.
Absolutely.
Kick-ass airplane.
It was a great airplane to end up on. Yeah.
Such a great-looking airplane.
And
the Buccaneer was still around, so that would have been perhaps fun. If you wanted to go bomb stuff.
Well, Nick, I think it's time for you to leave us. Don't take this personally, but I know you need to get a good night's sleep because you're an old man.
That's exactly right. I need to be up at 6, and I've got 7 hours now before I'm having to get up.
That's
Get out of here.
I sleep 5 hours.
All the best, everyone. Have a great show.
Nick, always great to have you with us. Great stories, and your expertise and wisdom and all that is much appreciated. So
Thanks very much indeed. See you next week.
yeah.
Cheers, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, we're gonna dump him off so that he can go and sleep.
Okay, now let's start the show.
Okay, now let's talk about Nick. No, just kidding. I know he is.
He's like, hey, nothing really happening in my life, but let me still, catch you up for like 30
there is so
minutes."
much. I mean, he does
Always.
all these things, like all the Form 414, and what we're on volume 18, volume 19. I'm thinking, gosh, I mean, just so much experience that he's had. It's just so amazing to me.
I tell you, I keep telling him he should write a book, and he just won't.
Yeah, should. Absolutely. So, Nick Camacho, how have you been, sir?
Good.
Good. Anything? No, how is your? So let's elaborate a little bit. You're flying every day of the month of October.
Yep, that is.
I know that we kind of got a little sidetracked there. How are we doing with that?
I think I only flew twice this week, so kind of fell off the wagon. But
yeah,
was that because of aircraft problems, weather problems, like life interjecting?
Problems.
Yeah,
life problem. Yeah,
yeah, as usual. It actually got really cold today, so I think we're gonna have a couple of days of cold weather before we go back to our last few weeks of decent weather in the fall. And then really trying to get my folks' place wrapped up by the end of the month. I don't think the contractor is quite going to make it, but we've been doing a lot of stuff there. And
have they been living there while all this is going on?
So they've actually moved out. They moved out for a month into a Airbnb, and I think that runs out at the end of this week. when the contractor was doing the ceilings and the stuff internal to the house. There was not very much work to do inside the house. The majority of it was on the exterior. So they've done all that for the past 3 months or so, and then the last couple of weeks they've been replacing ceilings and doing the stuff on the inside of the house that needs to get repaired.
So if you're new to the APG, what happened? How long ago was that?
End of April.
End of April, there was an amazing tornado that hit the Wichita area, but exactly the area where Nick's parents live. They got really damaged, or a lot of damage from that tornado. So,
yep.
So very fortunate that they weren't hurt in that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Indeed. So getting that wrapped up, still studying. We were talking before we started, talking with Rick a little bit about trying to finish up studying for the power plant written. I got to get that out of the way, and then really like to try to get the practical tests taken care of in the next couple of weeks. But we'll see. We'll see how everything falls out there.
Cool.
Good stuff.
Very nice.
Yeah. We're pulling for you, Liz said. All right. Very good. Well, great to have you with us, Nick. And let's go to the person whose name rhymes with Nick. Rick.
Steph? No.
No. Well, almost.
We're going to work on phonics on the show.
Yeah. Stiff. How you been doing, Stiff?
I'm not sure that really rhymes either. But
No, it doesn't. Sorry, I just got this in my mind. I'm sorry.
How I've been doing? Well, I've been doing good. Just got back a couple of days ago from 2.5 weeks of nonstop flying. It was nice. Got to go to. I stayed. Where the hell did I go? I didn't go international. Yeah, I stayed domestic this whole time. Doing transcon stuff. Rockford. Oh, beautiful Stockton. Went down to Cincinnati and Portland, and I ended in Baltimore. That was nice. Had a trip over to Baltimore, and they had me over there for the entire weekend, so that was nice. Got to do some of the interesting stuff that Baltimore has to offer as far as museums and ships and crabs and pints of Guinness. So that was really nice. As far as the flight itself,
as your time in North Carolina as well.
Oh, that's right. I did do some passenger flying. Oh yeah. So and Fayetteville. Oh, good Lord. That's
the reaction I was looking for there.
I'll fill you guys in on that. So the first thing I did I picked up an airplane off of an A check, and that was a flight to Stockton. I think that was like the first or second flight on the rotation there. And this airplane came out of an A check, which is a heavy check. Takes about 3 or 4 days to complete. As you know, as someone that used to do these A checks. You're very you try to be as methodical and attention to detail oriented as you possibly can, because in the end of the day, that's kind of what you want, right? But some things kind of slip through the cracks here and there, and got on the airplane. We were we pushed back, everything was on time, everything was fine, and proceeded to do the takeoff there, and the airplane was it wasn't accelerating the way it should, and the engines didn't sound right. So I had to reject the takeoff, come back around, figure out what was going on, park the airplane, and then it turns out that there was an issue with the EECs, the electronic engine controls. The EECs basically thought that the engines were still in reverse thrust, and so as such, the maximum amount of thrust available from each engine was not going to be enough to get the airplane off the ground. And so I used my famous 80 and 20, which basically means that in 20 seconds you should get to 80 knots no later than 20 seconds. And so that's basically how you gauge proper acceleration. And so that didn't work out, so I had to reject the takeoff, come back around, figure out what's going on. They did a full power engine run trying to figure out what was going on with that. They fixed that problem, but right before we got on the airplane and pushed back, they had an issue with a hydraulic leak in one of the struts, and they couldn't figure out whether it was a hydraulic system leak or an oleo strut leak. And so in the meantime, our duty clock kept going. So in the interest of operational continuity, they got us another jet, loaded everything, changed everything from the airplane that was loaded to the spare jet, and we departed almost 6 hours late. But we made it. It was fine. And then after that, I did a passenger flight, which I always enjoy doing, because you get to it's nice to fly passengers every once in a while, to kind of like
every other time you're on the show, you say, "I love flying boxes." Passengers
but
are
it's
such a hassle.
but it's interesting, it's kind of good to mix it up.
It's interesting in the sense it reminds him of why he doesn't do it.
Exactly. It reminds me why I like flying boxes so much. You have to think about the double ding at 10,000 feet and the entire cabin crew be seated for takeoff and that whole thing. It takes you from it's because it's funny because there's certain items in the checklist that you kind of just gloss over as far as passenger operations are concerned, because you don't fly passengers that much. But this time around you kind of catch yourself like, oh, passenger signs, it's not NA, they actually have to be on this.
Oh yeah.
All right, so passenger signs are on, so stuff like that, right? So it keeps you kind of sharp. So it was good. We did we ferried the aircraft empty from Houston to Colorado Springs, and this flight was really interesting because it was my first officer's first ever revenue flight off of instruction. So it was the first time he flew the 767, as a line pilot, and that was nice. He was really excited. He did a great job. It was obviously the first time he was going to fly into a hot and high airport. And so I told him, you just make sure you keep the aircraft in a short leash and, think about density, altitude, and temperature, and just anticipate the inertia and configure properly and all that stuff. And you did a great job. And then the following day, we flew from Colorado Springs to Fort Bragg in North Carolina with a plane full of our finest. And they were on their way to Germany the following day. And so got to Fayetteville. And then took a...
I mean, it's just smallish town, North Carolina.
Okay, it was fine. Oh, you know what though? I mean, they actually had, so they put us at this what was it, a Courtyard Marriott, which I thought it was fine. The gym was nice. It was that's really all that matters. And they had a nice brewery right next to the airport, right next to the hotel. So nice selection.
That's
of
what
beers.
matters.
Exactly. So you go have a good workout and sweat it out a little bit, and then go earn your dinner and your beers. So that's what I did. And then the following day, took a commercial flight through Charlotte with a very, very short connection time. I didn't even have time to get myself a what's that beer I like, Steffi, over there?
Oh, the Pernicious at Wicked Weed, or which one?
Yes, the tangy one.
Oh, there's a different one that you. I'd have to look back through mine.
It's like a watermelon one. That's really good.
Yeah, it's watermelon sour, I think. Also,
exactly. Yeah. That one. I didn't even have time for that. So I had to.
Name of it.
I had
and
to
no time
run.
for a boot chime either, probably.
No, so my boots are still unshined. So I know, but had to make it to the other end of the airport because Chad CRJ's sorry, inside joke. Regional jets park on concourse E and the E gates, right? You have to go all the way across on the other side of the airport to the A or B gates where my plane was, and then I ended up in Baltimore, which was nice. So that's where I had my 3-day weekend in Baltimore. I got to tour the USS Constitution, which is an old ship that's right there in Baltimore Harbor. I'd done it during the daytime, but I took the ghost tour this time because it was it was Halloween and all that stuff. And I haven't told you guys about the ghost I saw in Cincinnati, did I?
No.
I've heard the story, but
Yeah. I actually saw the lady in green in the hotel in the Hilton Netherland Plaza in Cincinnati, and I took a picture of her. That was really interesting. And this is something. Yeah, this is something that I've been pursuing for a couple of years now. But more on that later.
Yeah, you have to give us the picture so we can show it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So yeah, other than that, it was good. Flew Baltimore to Las Vegas. Oh, and here's the other thing. So I'm not crazy. The approach into 26 left,
Wow.
It is steep, and on the chart I missed it. It says the VGSI, the visual glide slope indicator, does not coincide with the glide slope. And threshold crossing height is 84 feet. Usually, you cross the threshold at 50.
50, yeah.
So I wasn't wrong.
You weren't losing your mind.
I
Your
wasn't losing my
senses
mind.
were not failing you.
It wasn't.
Okay.
So there's that. There you go.
Micah says USS Constellation, the USS Constitution, Old Ironsides, is in Boston.
Yep. No, you're right. The USS Constellation is in Baltimore. The USS Constellation. Yeah, that's right. So it was the USS Constellation, Micah. That's it.
Don't be so darn persnickety, Micah.
No, that's good. Thank you, Micah. Thank you, because it's I got to get the name right here. Absolutely.
It starts with a C, so it's pretty close. It's a ship.
Starts with a C, ends with an N, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but it was great. It was a great tour. It was almost an hour and a half long with these two very, very knowledgeable girls that gave us a tour from from front to back, from the top deck to the bottom deck, and it was all in the dark, and it was great. A great experience.
It sounds like a great thing to me.
It was.
Yeah. All right. Steph, have you had any tours like that lately?
Not recently. So what?
Sorry. I haven't either.
Man, you're just not enjoying your layovers, Jeff. Come on.
Well, clearly I'm not.
Do something about that.
No, I'm not. I did do a lot of flying this weekend though, so
Yeah.
that was good. October is always kind of just a really nice month in this neck of the woods for weather, for flying, skydiving operations, whatnot. Same as what Nick Camacho was saying. It got cold here yesterday and today, so I'm glad I'm not flying around with the door open today and tomorrow.
Yeah, it's chilly.
It'd be chilly. It was chilly a bit in the morning, Saturday and Sunday, but I mean, just clear blue skies, not a cloud in the sky, light variable winds, although a little bit on the stronger side, kind of through like 1,000 to 3,000 feet AGL, which is interesting for when you're under canopy at that altitude, because you tend to get pushed more than you expect in different directions. So there's good learning points for some of our students, teaching them about holding areas and flying patterns and whatnot, and how to manage that when the winds change speed and direction at different altitudes. But the flying was really nice. Man, we went nonstop from the time we started Saturday morning, like at 8:30 until about 4:30 in the afternoon before we took a break, I think, for the first time.
Jeez.
Yeah, I did get out of the airplane once. So we fuel every 5 loads. So the first fuel, I did jump out and use the little pilot's room, and then got back in and did not get out for the next 16, I think. But food and if I need to get out, it's not a problem. There's ways to manage and do that. We have other people who are rated for the aircraft who are happy to jump in, especially at fuel stops and hold the brakes and whatnot. Sunday was kind of a carbon copy day of that. I think we did, kind of the same thing, like 9:30 in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Got to jump in both days at the end of the day, so that was nice.
Nice.
Got someone else to take over flying for a little while.
I was going to say, it was just like, who landed the airplane?
Autopilot. It's a very fancy caravan. It's got that. No, it's not.
No.
It's definitely not. Definitely needs a lot of control input on the
Pilot input.
landings there. What was I say? Oh, I was thinking a lot about, because you had mentioned that the issue with that you had, Rick, with the jet being sluggish and the 80 knots in 20 seconds, and I was like, man, if it ever takes 20 seconds to get to 80 knots, we've got a couple of problems. One, if I'm still on the ground, that's a problem because we rotate at 70. And two, it should definitely take nowhere near that amount of time. But I was thinking, I really should actually maybe set a stopwatch every time and figure out what it actually is. Because it should be consistent. It should be the same almost every time, or at least under a certain threshold. So I'll probably start looking at that as well.
Yeah, we were talking about that last week, like how long, from and obviously I'm not an airline pilot, but to be sitting on the runway for 20 seconds.
That's an eternity.
It's just like mind-blowing to me. Yeah.
But it doesn't seem that long. In my world, it's it happens really quickly.
Forever.
But I've been doing the stopwatch thing, and about 17, 18 seconds for reduced thrust takeoffs seems to be, if I'm hitting it at the right time. It was like asking Rick, okay, when am I supposed to start the stopwatch for this thing? But it seems like about 17, 18 to 20.
And you're doing it just as soon as you'd select takeoff thrust?
Yeah.
Whatever it is? Okay.
Right. And I've been kind of waiting until it's kind of close to that takeoff thrust setting to start the timing. Because I think
there is a similar rule or a similar rule of thumb for GA pilots, GA airplanes that I've had some people use in the past. That's 70% of your takeoff speed at 50% of the runway usage.
Mm-hmm.
I've only used that a couple of times, but
sounds complicated.
Yeah.
Well, you just have to
math,
you just be paying attention where you are
cockpit
on the runway, and who wants to look outside the window? Jeez, gosh, GA flying when you're taking off. I'm being completely facetious, by the way,
yes.
for anyone listening.
Any interesting passengers jumping out of airplanes?
Thank you for reminding me. My dad came down and did a tandem jump on Sunday. Sorry. Sunday was a very nice day. It was like 80 degrees. So of course he waited until the very middle of the day to come out when it was nice and warm, which I don't blame him for. He's a smart guy. Yeah. Very practical. I think that was his fourth tandem. He said it was the best one yet, but makes sense. The more you do them, the first one's kind of just this, just a rush of a lot of things going on. It seems to go by really fast, and it's like, well, what just happened there? And then everyone after that, you kind of learn to take more things in as it's happening, So I think he really enjoyed it. Gosh, there was something else I was going to mention, I think, about the weekend, but I don't remember what it was.
Well, if you think of it, just...
Oh, I know what it was. I do know what it was. Did not do any running this weekend, but man, I'll tell you what, would probably not recommend for 3 weekends in a row doing a marathon one weekend, a marathon the next weekend, and then doing nothing but sitting in an airplane for a weekend. Getting out of the airplane both Saturday and Sunday at the end of the day was not the most pleasant. My legs were protesting a little bit. So, yeah.
Did you collapse onto the ground outside of the airplane?
Fortunately, no. But
okay.
Yeah, it felt like if I hadn't been paying attention, that might have been a possibility.
Ooh,
they were a little tight. Everything was just tight, sitting and not stretching and moving around.
You feeling better now?
Yeah, I feel great.
Good.
So, yeah, all good.
All right.
And I really wasn't feeling bad before that. It just kind of, subtle reminders that, hey, you're not 20 years old anymore, and you should probably stretch more often.
Well, we're always wondering if you're really a human or a robot. So it's always good to hear that you're a human.
But yeah, so it's been
what
a nice
have I been
weekend, and oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, Liz was asking me what I was doing, but go ahead and finish up stuff.
I was going to say, actually, I'm actually not on the schedule for flying the next 2 weekends, but I'll probably manage to get myself in the air somehow both weekends. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm
nice
not surprised. Yeah.
And that's it.
Cool. All right. And me, let's see, just did a 3-day trip, and I, from the second day of the trip, going from Atlanta to Chattanooga. Actually, we were in Springfield, Missouri, and Brent said to me, Jeff, do you want me to, break the news to you? And I said, what? He goes, it looks like you're going to get a line check from Atlanta to Chattanooga today. And I went, oh, okay. Well, I knew I was in the envelope or the window for that. So, got a line check and I think it's my last line check ever as as an airline pilot, which is, Liz is going, oh, no, I'm happy about that. Being the last line check ever is a nice thing. And
that's because of your age, right? That's not just because you're going to quit in frustration the next time a check airman
I don't know.
up.
It could be either of those. No, yeah, my age.
I've had it enough.
Yeah. So I'm not quite 64 yet, 63 and almost 64 years old. I can go all the way till December of next year. Probably won't. But anyway, so I was in the window for that. And guy hopped on and gave us a line check. Now, you would think that that would be easy peasy on a short flight, but actually it's a little bit more difficult than a longer flight because everything is like spread out and not so compressed and hectic when you've fly the longer flights. When you do a very short hop, like a 25-minute flight, and that happens to be the kind of flight that I did for my FAA checkout as a captain back on the 727 years and years ago. It was an Atlanta-Birmingham flight, and man, that was pretty stressful. But anyway, we did the Chattanooga thing, and it went really well, and I think that we impressed our line check airman. Brent was my first officer. And then we ended up meeting up with Chattanooga Tim, who has sent in lots of feedback for us over the years. And he was also one of those people that were on my last turn on the MD 88 up to Philadelphia and back from Atlanta to Philly. And he joined. He actually went from Atlanta to Philly and then Philly to Atlanta, and that was that experience where I didn't know that a bunch of people like Steph and a bunch of other wonderful people in our community showed up in...
You didn't know there were going to be dinosaurs greeting
No, I didn't know there were going to be
Philadelphia?
dinosaurs waiting in the gate area at Philadelphia. It was kind of weird, but it was a lot of fun. So Chattanooga Tim was part of that. And he mentioned that he saw that we were going to be in, or I was going to be in Chattanooga this week and then last week. And he wasn't available last week, and he said, hey, if you're interested, let's get together. And I thought, yeah, let's do that. So he picked up Brent and I from our hotel in Chattanooga and took us over to a restaurant, local restaurant, and we had a great time. And I have some, oysters for sure, Liz. You're right. And here, we're going to waste it, if you ask me. Boathouse audio. Here we go. Hey, it's Tuesday, so it must be Chattanooga. No. Yeah. It's Chattanooga, so it must be Tuesday. And it is. First Officer Brent and I are here again on basically the identical trip that we flew last week. But this week is different because one of our APG community members...
the video's not... You don't have to smile.
It's not video, thankfully. Chattanooga Tim contacted me and said, hey, I see you're going to be in Chattanooga, and if you want to get together the second time you're here, I'm available to be your taxi. So he picked us up in a really nice brand new gray Ford Bronco, very, very nice, and drove us over here to the Tennessee River at the Boathouse. And by the way, Brent and I went to a restaurant last time we were here, last Tuesday, owned by the same people, but it's called Sugar's Ribs, and that was pretty good too. Anyway, so Chattanooga Tim, thank you for extending an invitation to take us to a nice place like this, and why don't you say hello to the community?
What's going on, gang? Just Chattanooga Tim here saying hello. That's all.
A man of
not many words.
Way too few words. Anyway, we're having a great time here. Brent, you want to just say hi?
Well, hello, everyone. We are venturing away from our barbecue today at this Boathouse restaurant. So I'm going to try something very exquisite seafood of catfish.
It's a delicacy here in the South.
Right out of the Tennessee River here, probably.
Yeah, in fact, I'd see it right over there. They're pulling it out right now. It's fresh.
No doubt, no doubt.
So everybody knows you, Brent. You probably know this is my favorite first officer, and so tell everybody why are you my favorite first officer? I really don't know.
That's a very good question.
Knows how to plug your phone.
I don't know. I don't really know the answer to it either. I'm just kind of interested to hear what Brent's going to say.
After all these years, we're still flying together, I guess. I don't know.
Hey, now that's good. That's a good reason.
Doesn't fart in the cockpit.
This makes 6 weeks in a row, and we hadn't gotten into a fight yet. So
Yeah, just like we're an old married couple that never fights.
and we survived the line check today. So how about that?
Yeah, I forgot about that. I was telling Brent that I'm in the window for line check, and so Brent. So this morning out of Springfield, Brent looks over at me and goes, "You want me to break the news, the bad news, or the news about the Chattanooga flight?" And I went, "No, are you kidding me? Is it my line check?" And he goes, "Yeah." It actually worked out really well. Nice short flight, very busy flight from Atlanta to Chattanooga, and it was a little interesting. We were cleared the visual approach, and so I was kind of pointing the airplane toward the airport, and then all of a sudden we got this traffic alert from the controller. We didn't get any kind of alert on our TCAS system, but so we got a vector around the traffic. It was kind of hectic there toward the end, but we handled it as true professionals do, right, Brent?
Exactly.
And you know what?
I couldn't have said it better myself.
And we watered his eyes, the line check airman, although because he was crying because it was so bad, I guess.
Yep. Putting me on the spot here.
Yeah.
What else to say?
Nothing else. So we've already ordered, and we're waiting for our food here. I have some oysters Rockefeller coming over, and some wood grilled green beans. And Tim, what did you go for?
Havana pork barbecue.
There you go.
Or brisket. What the other?
Something. I don't know. Anyway, we're looking forward to it. So that's it from the boathouse on the Tennessee River in beautiful Chattanooga, Tennessee. Back to you all in the studio.
Hey, Jeff. Chattanooga Tim here. Thinking back about going out to eat yesterday with your first officer and I, you referred to him at least 3 or 4 times as your favorite first officer. And he never said anything like reciprocal and always was looking visibly uncomfortable. Huh.
You know, that's a good point, Tim. Maybe I should explore this further.
I thought you were, so when you asked Brent the question, I thought you were going to ask him why you were his favorite captain.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't.
No.
You asked him why.
Yeah, I should have, but I didn't want to hear the answer. Apparently,
the disappointing reality. Of
it. Well, it's better that what someone said to me this last trip. Someone said to me, "I'm a bit of a hard ass, but they enjoy my style of command." So I didn't know how to take that.
Not sure how I'd take that either.
I don't know.
You hard ass. Although, look at him. Yeah, obviously he's a hard ass. So the other thing I wanted to mention before we go to the cover art, Liz, is that I am going to fly to San Antonio tomorrow and meet up with dispatcher Tom Dugan. And we're going to drive up to Fredericksburg, Texas. And then on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're going to be in Austin at the Circuit of the Americas, where the U.S. Grand Prix is in Austin, Texas, Formula One. And that's the first Formula One race that I've ever attended. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, nice. It'll be exciting.
Yeah, I'm going to try to remember to take a bunch of pictures and maybe do some audio, maybe some crew logs. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I need to remember to bring some earplugs as well. Yeah. So let's, you know what I have to do? I'm sorry. I have to take a physiological break because I cannot go any further. So, because I'm starting to see yellow.
I thought Rick was going to bring another beer for me, but that hasn't happened, so I need to go replenish my...
Come on, Steffi. Let's go get another beer.
All right, so I'll be right back.
All right, I'll be right back to you.
Yeah, me too.
Uh-oh. Nick, it's all you.
I'm out of here. I think
Uh-oh.
I think the people here are on their own.
They're on their own. I'll hang out until someone comes back. It's all right. Chat room, hi, how are you? I can't believe they all... Wait. Oh. I guess we're just going to look at Jeff's empty studio. Oh, hi. I'm back. Liz, how are you? I think we need to mute Jeff's audio.
I'm good.
Can we mute? Hold on.
I'm not muted.
No, I'm muting Jeff's audio.
Oh.
So we don't have to listen to his physiologic break.
Oh, oh, okay. Good idea.
I can hear that.
It's cold up here too, but up here it really is cold. Like we had a little snow north of the city overnight last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cold here. It's 54 degrees.
Getting my snow tires on next week.
There you go. Yep, I guess it's about that time of year.
It's that time.
Get ready for it.
It's definitely that time.
I feel like we had a couple years in a row where it just kind of lingered on being warm, and this year is not going to be that year.
Same here. We didn't have any, like they used to call it Indian summer. We didn't have any of that this year.
I mean, there's been years where we've made it to like end of October and the leaves haven't even turned colors, and already we've got lots of orange and red. And
well, we had
nice.
spectacular leaves this year, and apparently it was because it did get cold, and consistently stayed cold. It didn't get warm again. Apparently that's what turns them the really good color.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we know.
Okay, bye. Bye,
Bye, Liz. All right, I'm going to go get my beverage now, but everyone else also left, so this will only take me like half a second.
Oh, sure.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Your turn to entertain the troops.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah, but I could also tell them about the fact that the reason why we were delayed today was because I had a little mess up as I got back to Atlanta today. One of the passengers was a young man who it was his first flight, and they wanted to go and check out the cockpit and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of moved out of the way and let them go and sit in the captain's seat, and kind of threw me off a little bit with my normal routine for packing everything up. And so finally they moved out, and we made sure a mechanic was there as well, because we had a couple of switch lights that needed the bulbs changed. And so I was briefing him on which ones needed to be relamped. And then I headed down to the bus stop to get on the bus to take me into the employee parking lot. As soon as I sat down on the bus, I thought, okay, where's my phone? It's not in my pocket here. It's not in my jacket pocket. It's not in my pocket of my backpack where I normally put it. Oh, son of a gun. I think I left it in the airplane. And so the bus was just starting to move away from the bus stop. And I said, excuse me, I need to stop. I need to get out. I left my phone. And the bus driver said, no, sorry. Once you're on the bus, I have to take you to the parking lot. No. So it was like almost a half an hour drive to the employee parking lot, and then I had to get out, get back on the bus, go through security, and then get back on the bus and go back out to the concourse to retrieve my phone. So that's why we started late, and so I do apologize for that. But fortunately, the gate agent is like the best gate agent in Atlanta at Delta, Acme. And I was able to contact him on the bus using my iPad and Google Voice. And I said, and I called my phone, and he answered. He goes, hey, Jeff. And I said, I think you have my phone? He goes, yes, I do. So fortunately, the phone didn't go missing or go off somewhere. It is nice to have contacts, for sure. So anyway, cover art. Okay, let's talk about our cover art from the last show. And of course, Captain Nick, our resident creative artist, is amazing. And he did it very, very quickly. And thankfully, because I thought I was going to have to do the art for the last show. But we talked about the C-17 and the little thing that you have to keep the pitch up at a certain point, and there's like a little thing. I think it's called a pipper or a pip, or I don't know what it's called, something like that. And so we said, you put the thing on the thing to hold it there for your descent profile and that kind of thing. And so that's the title of the last show. Put the thing on the thing. And Captain Nick did a wonderful job of showing a C-17, which is kind of the position of the C-17 that Nick and I flew in the simulator, almost upside down compared to all the other C-17s in formation. Yeah.
You know what? That putting the thing on the thing, it makes a lot of sense because on the 7.8 type rating and flying the 7.8 itself, it's the easiest airplane to land because so we are used to flight directors being either a V-bar or crosshairs, right? But in the HUD, depending on the HUD that you're using, but on the 787 HUD, the flight director is just two concentric circles where you put the smaller circle inside the larger circle. And that's really, you're putting the thing in the thing, and all you really do is you put the smaller concentric circle inside the bigger concentric circle, which is going to put that one on top of your touchdown zone and just basically hold it there all the way down till the airplane says 50, and then you're going to put the small little circle at the end of the runway and use that to flare. And it's impossible to have a hard landing on one of those because you're just basically using those visual cues to roll them on every time. So
I mean, that's
the thing on the thing, yeah.
Essentially the key to aviation.
Putting the thing on the thing.
On the thing.
You say that's impossible,
Exactly.
Rick, but last week we had a story about a pilot who did not know what the proper brake pressure was. And let the airplane roll on the runway because he didn't understand how the brakes worked.
Ooh.
That is true. Yeah. If he'd only put the thing on the thing, he would have been okay.
Known.
Yeah.
So I think we can always find horrible, stupid ways to bend airplanes.
And by the way, we just want to make a point. We never do anything like that. Anything
Never
wrong.
anything stupid.
We
or
always do.
See, that's why manufacturers try to pilot-proof airplanes as much as possible. So
yes.
Yeah.
Well, when they finally succeed for good, we'll give them a gold star or something.
There you go.
Yes.
I'll drink to that.
Absolutely. All right, Coffee Fund. It's that time of the show where we talk about our wonderful people
Johnny,
that
how
we
much more
love
coffee?
so much.
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
I love it when you go to that lower register, Liz. Yeah, it's great. Anyway, the Coffee Fund, that's the wonderful group of folks that support our show in a financial way. And if you're interested in doing that, we have a couple different ways to do it. One is called the Coffee Fund Classic Method, and that's using PayPal basically. And normally that's the method that you would use to do like a one-off or two-off or whatever. But we do have folks that do recurrent contributions using that method as well. And we also have Patreon. You can become a patron of the show, patreon.com/airlinepilotguy, where you can pledge a certain amount. Just a minute. For each show, and then you can specify like a max per month and that kind of thing. So we have a lot of folks that do that as well, and we love all you. Thank you so much for taking the opportunity to use some of your treasure to support our show financially. Now, I need to say, since the last show, we have had, well, no new patrons or no contributions. So let's go ahead. It's the sad puppy face. We're sad. No, it's not angry at all. It's a sad puppy, and I'm hoping that will somehow touch your heart.
Puppy looks kind of lonely, forlorn, neglected.
He's going, wow.
Yeah.
We didn't have
need of
we didn't have any contributions or new
attention
patrons.
and affection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Poor puppy.
Sorry to do that to you, but what we had to. Anyway, so no, actually, it's not a big deal. We have lots of people that support our show very generously and continuously. And that's not the word I was looking for, but something like that. There's a word. Faithfully. That's good. I like that.
Consistently.
Yeah. I do want to thank people for, so that there are many ways to support us here at the Airline Pilot Guy. Just consuming our show by downloading it or watching the video or whatever is supporting us. By telling other people about our show, I mean, if you can stand it and you're not too embarrassed, you can tell them about our show. And we also have thanks, Liz. She goes, and you can stay awake long enough. But we also have people who consistently support us by sending us in feedback and links to news items and that kind of thing. And so we really appreciate all those people as well. So many ways to support us here at the Airline Pilot Guy Show. And we hope that we're supporting you as well. So it's kind of it's a win-win situation for all of us. So
I'll tell you one thing. When I was a kid growing up, just dreaming about doing this for a living one day, I so wish that there'd been something
Podcasting?
like this, or someone I could talk to just to to ask questions, and it would have made a huge difference. And so this is, like you said, Captain Jeff. It's about giving back a little bit, and makes all the difference.
It really does. I know it sounds cliche and all that kind of stuff and corny, but it's true. It really is true.
Well, to Rick's point, I was kind of that person. I mean, I had already started flying, but I wasn't nearly done with ratings and things when I started listening to various aviation podcasts, including yours. This one.
Yeah, sorry, Steph.
I know. I see where it's got me. It's a slippery road, a sad situation.
Yeah, very slippery slope.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Steph, contacted me and said, "Hey, I'm like getting into flying and getting these ratings, and I hear you talk about beer." And
it was really mostly about beer for me.
Mostly beer, which is wonderful because I really think that it's a high priority thing for me as well. Mm-hmm. And she said, "Yeah, like if you're in the Charlotte area, I can show you what North Carolina has to offer as far as beers." And she was right, man. North Carolina, man. Really,
even Fayetteville,
really
apparently
knows how to do it. Fayetteville.
Yeah, and here soon, the state's going to have the hours to maybe fly a 767, or who knows?
Yeah, it's a little ways away.
Yeah, she's racking up those hours.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Anyway.
Rick's gonna do my personal training on the 767.
Oh, I will. I'll get checked out as a line checker.
I've already had lesson number 1. I think about something about the gear and a walk around it.
There you go.
I have to warn you though, Steph.
The DC area. Yeah.
Rick is a hard ass.
I heard he's a hard ass.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Be careful.
But apparently I have a good. I don't know. A good. What did he say? I didn't know how to take it really. I was like, thank you.
You have a wonderful bedside manner though. Mm. Okay. Let's start with. I need to hit the little feedback thing bumper. Here we go.
Captain, incoming message.
All right, this is the first item in our feedback from Adam. And now I'm going to load the video that I should have done before I started talking about this. Video file and airdrop. Okay. Open. Okay. Back to Adam. I've just stumbled across this short clip of a passenger airdropping a photo to other people on their flight, and it made me think of the recent piece you did on the pilot getting annoyed and threatening to return to the gate for passenger airdropping images to his iPad. Yeah, it was a Southwest captain that was not very happy about the airdropping thing, and apparently didn't understand what all that was about. Anyway, this would perhaps be an excellent way for the pilot to get revenge. Thought you might like to keep it for you or your crews ever experience this, or if you ever experience this, and fancy a little revenge. Either way, it's definitely witty. Okay, so Adam sent this link to an Instagram video, and let's play it now. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, this flight is expected to be run on 1:35 minutes. Kindly make sure that your hand baggage is stowed safely and has not the aisle aviation exit.
Okay, somebody's airdropping something to a bunch of people on the airplane. And it's a picture of the first officer who has poked himself out of his window while the airplane is in flight, supposedly, and he's taking a selfie.
No, it's real. Look, his tie's flying in the air, so it must be real.
Oh, it has to be.
I was going to say, I didn't want to be a naysayer, but I feel like the fact that his tie isn't all the way back makes this a little suspicious. I'm not sure, but a little suspicious.
Well, I mean, there's really there's less breeze than you'd think. It's kind of a weird physics thing that happens.
And it doesn't blow his sunglasses off or anything.
Or his hair.
No, or his hair.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's true.
Yeah. No, that's a helmet he's wearing, actually.
I don't know how many of you have ever poked your head out of the open
we do that all the time.
window of an airplane. But
all the time. I know you have many times.
Many times.
I've never done that, actually.
I should try it sometime. It's great.
Okay. Maybe. Probably not. Okay. Well, anyway, so thank you very much, Adam, for that. We'll keep that in mind if we ever want to have revenge on those people airdropping us naked pictures. But it all depends on really the quality of the pictures. So, go ahead. I'm giving you the green
I'm
light.
Send all of you a picture right now that you can use to airdrop to people. You can find it. It'll take me forever to find it.
What?
Keep
what?
going. Keep going.
That's you shouldn't do that. That's kind of embarrassing.
I have to scroll way back to find it though, so it's okay. Keep. I found it.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sorry, this makes for great podcasting right now.
It does.
I can't really airdrop because you're kind of too far away at the moment, so I had to use.
Oh wait, I see something here coming in from. Did I miss something? Did you diss me in some way?
I received this as an airdrop on an airplane one time. I accepted it. Not knowing what it was, but it's so perfect.
It's
so
Jebediah.
Yeah. He would prefer that you send pictures of you clothed.
Okay, so let me open with preview and share this so everybody. Oh, you're showing it. Thank you, Nick. Go ahead and pop that back up.
I'm low tech compared.
A lot easier than what I was trying to do.
Send
okay.
Clothed. That's what
Send clothed. Clothes.
That's
okay.
Good.
I like it.
I have
like
sent that to people, airdropped just to random people. Sometimes it gets a reaction, sometimes it does not. Sometimes I think people are confused, but
You're
it
just
makes
weird.
me laugh. What can I say?
Okay, let's go to item 4. Attilio says, "Hi team, not sure if you've seen this one. Sounds like a repeat incident." And he sends us a link to simpleflying.com. It's a British Airways Airbus A320 flying from Bari, Italy to London, Gatwick. Bari, excuse me.
Bari.
Bari. That's what I like. Bari. Hey.
Actually, I've got a... Oh, hi, Lucille. Oh, good Lord. Hang on.
Hi. Is she calling me Lucille now? Oh, look at that dog. Oh, a couple beautiful little dogs there. We have Lucille and who?
That's Lucy, and this is Chaz over here, hijacking the show. And I had both doors closed, so she opens doors now.
Oh.
And when she goes to bed at night, she closes the door to her bed because she's got her own bedroom now. So she's almost 2 years old, which makes her 14. So she's in the terrible teens apparently.
Those teens.
All right, hang on. Let me go put these guys away here, because otherwise they're going to make it possible.
Gotcha.
Just keep re-entering the show.
Anyway, flying from Bari to London, Gatwick, performed a go-around after detecting a nose gear steering malfunction while on approach. The incident occurred aboard an Airbus A320-200 operated by BA, a registration blah, 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 which was performing 2829 from Bari to London. Data from Flight Radar 24 indicates that the aircraft had an uneventful takeoff from Bari. 9 minutes later, the than the scheduled departure of 1400. Who cares? After a little over 2 hours of smooth flying towards London, the aircraft initiated its final approach to Gatwick's runway 8 right. According to the Aviation Herald, the jet was descending through about 1,000 feet above ground level when the crew initiated a go-around because of a nose gear steering malfunction. The Aviation Herald also noted that the passengers were informed of the nose gear steering malfunction by the crew. The A320 climbed to 4,000 feet, and after circling west of Gatwick over the towns of Plaistow and Loxwood, the crew positioned for another approach. About 25 minutes after initiating the go-around, the aircraft landed safely on 8 right. However, the aircraft rolled to the end of the runway and stopped, having to be subsequently towed off the runway. The aircraft spent the rest of September 21st as well as the 22nd and 23rd on the ground. It was then ferried from London Gatwick to London Heathrow and blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then it says in this article, a repeat problem. Interestingly, the aircraft suffered a fairly similar incident over a decade ago in 2010, suffering a hydraulic failure. Okay, I don't know if that's the same.
It's not the same thing.
That's not the same thing.
Steering problem. The other is
I feel like
problem.
I feel like these. Remember a couple years ago there was that JetBlue 320, in Long Beach. And the funny thing about it is that the passengers in the back were actually watching the live news coverage of their emergency landing.
Yeah.
So it seems to happen with Airbuses all the time. I remember an issue with a 330. I see Nick's not here. I remember a 330. It was a TAM 330 going into Kennedy, which had an issue with the nose landing gear, and it worked itself out before touchdown.
Right.
But it seems to happen. It happened maybe a month ago to a LAN 319 in Colombia. I believe it was Cali. So it seems to happen all the time with these Airbuses. I don't know. I think it has to, and I mean, I'm being serious here. It has to do with even the nose wheel steering on those damn things seems to be fly by wire. And so it, once the nose gear comes down, the steering and actuation system goes through a self-test, which it, at least electronically, cycles the nose gear all the way left to all the way right and then back to center without actuating the actual steering actuators or the gear and pinions. But sometimes apparently by some kind of software flaw or interface flaw, for sure, it actually engages the actuators to cycle the gear, and then it gets stuck because you're going all the way to the left and then all the way to the right. So that seems to be the problem. But yeah, it's an Airbus thing apparently.
Yeah, we have heard incidents like this occur over the years, but I just thought it was kind of odd that this particular, I don't know, let's see, LinkedIn.com, wherever this came from, thought that, or Simple Flying, excuse me, that this is somehow a similar or repeat problem, and I don't think that you can really associate the two problems, especially one that occurred back in 2010. I mean, that was like 12 years ago. I don't know. That's pushing it, I think. Yeah. Anywho, well, thank you, Attilio, for sending that in. Let's continue with this from Bob. He says, "Greetings, APG community. This is Bob from Connecticut, a longtime fan from the pre-100 days." Ooh, APG syndrome there, huh? I've flown a bit in a 150, but I like sailing better. Check out my video on what flying and sailing have in common. Okay, so this is from Bob in his video, and we're going to go ahead and load that sucker up and watch a little bit of it. We're not going to watch the entire thing, but it's definitely worth seeing a bit of it. And here we go.
Good day, APG community. Bob Lufkin here, sailing on my Catalina 22. Long-time listener from the sub 100 days. How about that? long time. At any rate, I love sailing. I have flown, but I like sailing better. I just want to give you a little example of why sailing is like flying. See, we have sails. They're in the shape of a wing. They generate lift. That's what pulls us through the water. Wind goes faster over one side than the other. Just like an airplane, you got to watch where you're going. With sailing, we also have what we call angle of attack. If you exceed the angle of attack, I think you do the same thing on a plane. You stall. And you can see us right now, we're stalling. The way to recover from a stall, you kick the rudder over. Kick the rudder over, and we retain the airfoil, and we're fine. We steer with a rudder. The rudder going back and forth, just like a plane. What else is similar? We navigate, GPS, just like a plane. The wind is important, the tide is important. Just because you're heading one direction doesn't mean you're going that way. So we have a drift, just like when you're flying, you've got to account for crosswinds. We do too sailing. And there's probably a whole bunch of other things. We trim the sails just like you trim your plane. We use these lines to trim. But the most important thing is optimize the shape of your sails, and you're having fun. So Bob Lufkin on Ohana, coming to you from Westbrook, Connecticut, on the last day of the summer. Thanks for the great show. Over and out.
I was wrong. We played the whole thing because it was definitely worth playing. Thank you, Bob, for sending that in. It's been a while since I've watched that video, and I'd forgotten that it was very informative, and it was interesting to see the parallels between sailing and flying, and there were many, many parallels.
Can you imagine if airplanes actually flew the way sailboats navigate them? I mean, can you imagine those nav charts be all like zigzag lines because of the tacking?
No.
It'd take a long time. I mean, we get paid by the minute, so it'd be good for us. But
yeah, it'd be good for us. Yeah.
Imagine glider flying has some similar navigation lines in there, up and down and up, and just more vertical as opposed to horizontal and longitudinal.
I love the analogy to the to stalling. The sails stalling and kicking in the rudder to recover from the stall. Yeah.
What you don't want to do in an airplane because your tail might snap off.
Well, yeah, I guess it depends on the airplane.
But yeah, there's a lot of parallels. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. Last item. Okay, so I Haul Boxes says that on our last item we were talking about FWB or fly-by-wire, but FBW does not stand for fly-by-wire. It stands for flawed by wire.
And Airbus got the patent on that. So
okay, it's really a shame that Nick's not here. Captain Nick's not here to defend the fly-by-wire world.
Hey, I've flown a fly-by-wire airplane as well, and
That's true.
To be honest, I like the old school stuff better.
Yeah.
I really do.
There you go. Okay, number 6. This is from Erbium, and also Matt sent this in and added a question. I'm curious to know whether and to what extent the extended priorities are addressed in either military or civilian training. So Erbium says, hi, captains and all. Longtime listener, first-time feedbacker from the north of Scotland. I first came across the Airline Pilot Guy in 2012. Wow, long time. I then lost my way for a bit, but eventually came out of a messed up personal life to rediscover APG and to catch the syndrome in full. Now I listen to the audio version everywhere, walking the dogs, doing the dishes, and while the other half is watching soaps on the telly. You've probably seen the pilot priority list by XKCB, a personal favorite online series. Link is also attached for reference. I've added the view from my APG fevered brain, and here's my take on the list. Okay, so it starts at 1, 2, 3, aviate, navigate, communicate, the basics. Number 4, decorate. Make the cockpit fancy. Dr. Steph's presence is sufficient, and I don't mean solely for her appearance, but also her fancy brains. Yeah, we do appreciate
Absolutely.
Steph's fancy brains. Accelerate. See how fast you can go. Captain Jeff on any taxiway.
See, that's why he taxis with the speed brake app. So, a la Southwest. So
that's not true. I might maybe taxi a little bit faster than average. Okay. And let's see, number 6, roller skate. Zoom down the aisle for Captain Nick when he's tired of bowls. Okay. Captain Nick on roller skates.
That could be dangerous. Worry about his ankles.
Could be dangerous. He's got a very high center of gravity, so it's not good.
Exfoliate. Controller Liz making the pod nice and shiny. We do appreciate her exfoliation. Number 8, sublimate. Turn directly to a vapor. Captain Rick explaining tech stuff in a zen-like state.
It's like church for me.
It really is. When he starts staring off into the distance, it's like, wow,
no.
here we go.
Get ready. There's definitely a certain look.
Yeah.
There's a look. Eyes glaze over.
Yeah, no, we really
you
appreciate
just
it.
start to look into the corner somewhere, and you can tell that you're no longer looking at us. You're visualizing whatever it is
we're going.
talking about. We just know that we need to sit back and grab a Snickers.
And I start searching for the crickets.
Cricket soundtrack.
I thought you grab a Snickers when you're angry.
No, just when you're going to be there for a while.
All right, there we go.
All right, pollinate. Fly low to stir up pollen. Macho Nick flying low and slow. All right, he's the pollinator. That's what we're going to call him now. And 10, congratulate. You're doing a great job. Hey, thanks. We appreciate that. Yeah, let's see. What's this? Pilot priority list celebrate. Serve passengers tiered cakes shaped like the aerospace class diagram. Oh, that would be kind of fun. Keep the nose and tailplane pointing the way you want, etc. By the way, my Patreon contribution is my real name. Oh, I'm sorry. So we're not going to mention his real name. We're just going to call him Erbium. And we do appreciate the fact that he's a patron of our show. So thank you, sir.
Just for a second before you move on, just think about that. That aerospace tiered cake. That's a good one. So it's a layered cake upside down.
Upside down.
Mm-hmm.
That's good stuff.
You'd have to balance it really well.
You really
Otherwise
would.
You'd have a messy cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of structural integrity.
I was going to say you could have a structural failure there if you're not careful.
And Monaco construction.
Yes.
Lucy. Here.
Yes. Oh, back to the question. The question was, what extent the extended priorities are addressed in either military or civilian training?
You mean just the first 3?
Yeah, well, the first 3, of course, but the rest of them, not so much.
Probably pretty equally stressed.
Yeah. Oh, especially decorate.
Mm-hmm. It's important.
Or exfoliation. It is important. Okay. Thank you very much, Erbium, and what was it, Matt, that also sent that in? Okay. Number 7. Oh, this is a good one. And again, I have to load up the video for this. Don't worry, it's definitely worth it. And support city sound. Okay. Going back over here to this. From Wim Sorterts. That sounds like a Dutch name, maybe. And he sent us a link to this, and he said on Facebook he saw this, and he said, singing and flying should be right up your alley. Well, it's kind of personal. But we will play this video to see what he's talking about. And here we go. Where is it? Oh, here.
Now in the park you hear the happy song of the carousel. You can almost taste the hot dogs and french fries they sell. Under blanket with my baby is where I'll be. Under the boardwalk of the sun, under the boardwalk, really having some fun under the boardwalk, walking above under the boardwalk, really falling in love under the boardwalk.
Ah, that's great. That was a barbershop quartet group. The, what we call it, a Port City Sound on, looks like a regional jet.
It's not a CRJ 200 because the windows are in the appropriate.
That looks
position.
like an ERJ 175.
Yeah, it's a little bit
Based on
bigger
the-
RJ.
on the windows. Yeah. Maybe it's that same one where they had that stabilizer issue with.
It could be, although I don't think that they would have been that happy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always great, great singers there, and what a treat for the passengers for this group. Somebody must have recognized them and said, "Hey, can you sing something for us?" And they did. That's
Very nice.
awesome. Yeah, thank you for sending that in, Wim. And let's continue. Tim Van Ram was with us earlier. I'm not sure he's still here with us in the live audience. Let's see. Tim sent us this: the story of a first officer in Afghanistan that fled to the U.S. So he sends us a link to a Huffington Post article. APG crew ran across a story about an Afghan first officer that fled his home and is trying to get back to a flying career in the U.S. I wish him luck. And like thousands of Afghans now in the U.S., Hafiz Barzada has to start over thousands of miles from a home he may not be able to see again. And he packed to leave Kabul the day the U.S. completely withdrew its forces on August 30th last year. He knew this was his last takeoff from the country he had always called home. He wore his navy blue gold-striped pilot's uniform and flight bag. He boarded the plane, but this time he sat in the passenger seat. When Kabul had fallen to the Taliban 2 weeks earlier, many pilots stayed underground and refused to take flights. But Akbarzada, 32, was one of the few commercial pilots who continued to operate despite the chaos that plagued the airport. Anyway, so the story goes on to talk about how he has made it over here to the U.S. and now he's trying to start over and get back into the flying career and all of the obstacles that he is having to tackle to do this. And it is really a good story, and just like many professions, like doctors and other professionals, they have to basically they come here and they don't have anything, and they have to requalify and recertify and all that kind of stuff to kind of start doing the thing that they were doing before they left wherever they came
I'm sure
from.
he's got some work to do, but it does look like he at least. When he was doing his training, he did come over to Florida and did his commercial certificate here.
Yeah, that's got to be
hopefully
helpful.
That's
So
a good step in the right direction.
He may already have like FAA certification, which is good for him. Okay. Anyway, so we'll have a link to this story, which is, as Liz said, a very good one. And continuing on, so we have some feedback from Sam. It says, hello, Captain Jeff and crew. I recently introduced my nephew to your podcast. He is in the process of signing up for a branch of the military, hoping to fly. While visiting last weekend, he told me you put out a new episode. We listened to episode 536 together and heard your responses to my feedback. I'm glad you all got a laugh from my comment about logging in hours while only hand flying. I did not realize the work involved while on autopilot. Thank you for setting me straight. Yeah, well, hopefully we didn't, upset you by that. But, I think that people who aren't familiar with piloting and our job of flying and autopilots and all that kind of stuff, they have the wrong idea about exactly what happens when you turn the autopilot on. You just hit a button and then it just auto magically does everything on its own. But no, we were still very, very actively involved in flying the airplane through the autopilot system. He said, I would also like to thank Captain Nick and Mr. Camacho for their input. Also, thank you for the suggestion of not comparing accidents. True, each situation is unique. Having been listening for about a month now, and I'm learning so much, I've listened to episodes 500 to current, and I'm listening to the earlier episodes while waiting for the new ones to be aired. I'm currently on episode 50. That was a long time ago. Yeah. Since I plan to continue listening and sending in more feedback, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself. I am 59 years old and have a 23-year-old daughter who became a registered nurse this year and a 20-year-old son. In 1990, I took Cessna 172 lessons out of Van Nuys in California, accumulating 20 hours, but didn't continue after marrying and starting a family. I always wanted to be a commercial airline pilot, but gave up on the dream when my high school counselor highly suggested joining the military. At the time, the Iran-Iraq conflict was in motion, and I feared the possibility of having to go to war. My father served in Korea, earning a Purple Heart, and I never could get past the fear of the realities of war. I didn't find out until later I could earn my certificate privately, but it was too costly. My cousin Noah, an Air Force C-130 pilot and instructor, is currently stationed in St. Louis. After asking if he would take me up in a 172, he suggested taking a road trip together. I will let you know when that transpires. I too am Catholic, a Byzantine Catholic, and attended parochial school. Another nephew is currently completing his education at Creighton in Omaha. Not being blessed with a fantastic voice such as yours, Jeff, thank you, I opted to be an altar server until age 25. Strange as it may seem, my time flying commercial is one of the most anticipated parts of my trips. My first long flight was to Asia in 2018. The 13 hours flew by so fast. I'm sure it had much to do with the comfort of modern airliners and the fact that I just love being in them. By the way, the Incheon airport is amazing. I don't think I've ever been there, but I think...
Which terminal, though? Because one's better than the other.
I don't know. Must have been the good one.
Yeah, definitely the good one. Nah, they're both good, but...
Yeah?
Yeah. I like Incheon. Funny thing about Incheon, though, it's so close to North Korea that if you take off to the north, you have to be very, very careful to make an immediate left turn so that you don't make the news or get shot down.
Or get a missile fired at you. Yeah. I had a 45-minute layover there on my way to Tokyo. Friends that travel for the business told me that it would be very difficult to make that connection. Not so. It was easy. That airport is impressively efficient. Other major airports should consider their design. Any thoughts? I'm not a frequent traveler, but the experience was not stressful in the least. My uncle, Noah's dad, flew a C-130 during the Vietnam War, and another uncle and cousin flew general aviation. Now my nephew is looking forward to his military and or commercial career. I guess I should get off my arse and complete my training. Love the show. Peace to all of you. Sam Bolog, or blog. Maybe he has a blog. I don't know. Ooh, that would be good. He could be Bolog blog. Sam Bolog blog. Anyway, thank you, Sam, for sending that in. And any
nice
commentary?
to get to know a little bit more about our listeners every
Yeah,
once
it
in a while.
is.
So, sort of, getting to know you listener edition.
It really is.
I like it. Very nice.
Yeah, I think we kind of mentioned or started to do that quite some time ago, and thought it would be a cool thing to do, and then we just never followed up on it. Oh well. Yep, that's part of the feedback we love to get. Okay, speaking of, we get a lot of feedback from Robert, formerly of near the Big Chicken in Marietta, but now in Tucker, Georgia. He every year goes to the Atlanta International Airport 4K, and 4K. He says sharing another photo.
He completed 4Ks of the 5K.
On the Atlanta 5K. Okay, so he got 4/5 of it completed, but it was a 5K. Okay. On the 5th runway on Saturday morning. As expected, I got diverted towards the end. However, one of the volunteers made it a point to tell me I was, in fact, not the last person to make it around. She said that there were at least 6 other walkers behind me. We're showing some photos now in the video of the event at the 5th runway in Atlanta, the runway 2810. And he sent us a link to his Google Drive, and so we have some photos here. And we, I believe, have some video as well. So let me see if I can get some of that cranked up. That was the NOTAM.
While you're working on that,
Yeah.
doing the Charlotte 5K on the runway this upcoming Saturday.
Oh,
you gonna do that? Blow them all out of the water? Show them how it's done.
Probably not, but
make everybody feel bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't decided if I'm really going to race it or not. Last year I had a personal best time at that race, so it's fast and flat, and if it's cool in the morning, it's a nice place to run.
Nice.
And the extra
They
motivation.
do it on the left side.
Good. So they can't
Shut
use
that-
that frickin'
exactly.
runway for a change. Excellent. What's their excuse now?
Well, how do you
It'll
feel
only be
about it?
closed from 6 a.m. until 8 a.m. though, unfortunately.
So
It'll
I
be
remember,
back up in-
I told you the other day that the one time I flew into Charlotte, they wanted to give me that runway, and for performance, I'm like, nope, can't do it, not taking it, because I knew Steffi was in the center runway waiting for me because she was going to catch my landing. So I told them, nope, can't do
still
it.
didn't get his landing.
Yeah,
No,
operational.
Yeah, they put me over. Yeah, they put me over in the right room. I was like, God, you son of a. So I didn't get my way. Oh well.
Nobody wants.
You're trying to
land.
round. You're trying to land on the center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steffi was there.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, and then they moved the airport overlook anyway because they're doing some extensive construction. But nobody wants that runway. To be fair, I had listened to pilots' requests, and basically the east runway all day long. So either 3-6 right or 1-8 left as the winds require. But it's rare that they'll change it if they've already decided they're going to the west runway.
I land on that west runway 90% of the time, at least. Yeah. The worst part of it, it's not a bad runway.
It's crossing the
It's
center.
just crossing the center runway that they're using for all the takeoffs.
No,
and
the
it
problem
just
is that
takes-
usually I don't have 47,000 quarters in my pocket to pay the frickin' toll to go all the way to the other side of the airport.
There's a lot of tolls.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Kind of sensitive about this, Rick.
I know.
Okay. Let's play Robert's video.
I'm tired. Good morning, guys. Trying to pull this together again and see how far I make it before they drag me off the 5th runway. So hopefully see you guys soon. And there's quite a few people at least still behind me. But yeah, nice, about 52 degrees, no, 58 degrees this morning. It's pretty chilly out here after all the folks moved away from the body heat and all. So, but yeah, I'll include another video or two. So that's fun.
Like
some older ladies doing a little relay. But thanks for all the feedback you've taken, and talk to you guys soon.
All right, here's some
All right,
more.
keep on coming, y'all. Keep on coming. Look at this. This is what 2,000 people look like. Come on, everybody. Keep it coming. We're trying to get started. We got about 3 more minutes. 3 or 4 more minutes.
Showing all the people there in the wee hours of the morning. And let's do some dancing. Okay. So there's some video coverage of the Atlanta 5K. Thank you, Robert, for that. And one of the pictures that he sent in was of...
All right, keep on coming, y'all. Keep on coming.
I don't know what's going on. Okay, you got that B4. There we go. The 747-800. Sorry, Rick. B747-8. There's a sign or a painted surface with this on it and a dotted line, and I believe that Robert had a question regarding that. So let me see if I can find his. Feedback
I
here.
think I have it here. He said,
Yeah.
I keep forgetting to ask, as seen on Atlanta's 5th runway, what is this sign? Does it have anything to do with the Boeing 747-8?
800.
Well,
Sorry.
Get it right. It's 800.
Dash 8. So I don't know. What is that? So I know somebody who has some experience with that aircraft. Rick, what is that? What is that 747-8? What does that mean?
So this 747-8 it's got 225 glorious feet of wingspan. So it's a pretty big airplane, and so there are you can't just taxi that airplane anywhere. Any old taxiway in the airport. In fact, we have dedicated taxi routes for the 747-8, and so that particular line there seems to be a hold line for other airplanes, so that if there's a 747-8 taxiing around, you hold short of that line to make sure that there's enough clearance between that jet, so wings and whatever puddle jumper you happen to be on. So that's basically it.
I want to point out that the photo that we're showing here on the video, and I'll put in the show notes. See that little greenish looking stripe going across the 7? That was when they told me to hold short of that point, and I was going a little bit fast because
that was Jeff taxiing at 47 knots.
Yeah, he's like, I think I'm supposed to go 47.
Oh, I was supposed to hold short of that. I was skidding across that sign. Sorry. Yeah.
No, but it's really interesting because as I said, the wingspan is so great on this thing that you can't just taxi anywhere, and it gets really, really complicated when not only do you have to taxi on 747-8 approved routes only, but also when you get into low visibility operations, because there's also taxiways. So when there's low vis operations going on, you also can't taxi on just any old taxiway. And so you have to combine the airport planners and airport operations. They have to combine low visibility taxi routes with 747-8 or 380 taxi routes, which oftentimes means that the 74 and the A380 kind of they can't get delayed because of just their wingspan is so great that they can't just taxi any old way. And I included a picture there of my my EFB, my electronic flight bag, Atlanta Hartsfield Airport there. And if you look at carefully, there's a certain there's a few taxiways there that are in red, and obviously those are taxiways that you cannot take on a Dash 8 because of the wingspan. So yeah, it's a big girl, really big girl.
Yeah. Oh, so Liz is saying basically size matters.
Oh, it does. It does. I believe that. I do believe I'm right on this one. Doesn't happen often, but the 747, the Dash 8 is now that the AN 225 is no more. The 747-8 is the longest commercial airliner in use. It was actually longer than the 380. Before the 747-8 came to be, the longest one was the 340-600. But no more. 747-8 it is.
Very cool. All right. I hope that answers your question, Robert, regarding that 747-8 signage on the taxiway. I see it all the time. Okay. What do we do, Liz? Keep going? Okay. We have some audio feedback from Captain Puneeth. He says, I love your show and do not hesitate to say that yours is one of the best podcasts I've come across. I've been listening to your podcast for a little over a year, and I've wanted to send you this audio feedback for a while now. I really love the soundtrack at the end of the show and have been trying to play it on my guitar for a while now. Oh, the fact that I'm not a very good pilot anymore because I'm doing the APG. Is that the one he's talking about? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so let's listen to this audio feedback from Captain Puneeth.
Greetings to all APG crew, Captain Jeff, Captain Nick, Dr. Steph, Captain Miami Rick, Liz, and all the guest hosts and APG community. It's been over a year since episode 483 aired, and I've wanted to write to you ever since. However, I wanted to wait for the right moment. Although this moment arrived much later than I expected, I am now in a position to end this audio feedback on a happy note. I must say I can totally relate to First Officer Rico's story from episode 483. Although mine wasn't nearly as painful and difficult, I feel it was very close. It has been over 15 years since the day I stepped into the little Cessna 150 halfway across the globe from my hometown to give wings to my dream of becoming an airline pilot. In those 15 plus years, I've shared a studio apartment with 3 other guys. I've worked in a grocery store for minimum wages. I've worked at a startup with no relation to aviation. I've been jobless for years looking for the right opportunity. Worked as a military pilot, carried out drug busts, flown SAR missions, and saved lives, to name a few of the things that I've done. There were many sleepless nights when I cursed myself, and others where I felt proud of what I have been able to accomplish as a pilot, which I'm sure would have been a distant dream otherwise. I've been away from the flight deck for almost 2 years thanks to the COVID pandemic, but now I've finally landed myself a job as an airline captain. These past 2 years, when I was on the ground with my wings clipped, the only thing that kept me sane was your podcast and a few others that you suggested, like Squawk Ident by Aviator Tony. I simply love each of your personalities and wish that Miami Rick would be part of more episodes than he is. Finally, I want to thank you and people like First Officer Rico who send in feedbacks that inspire us mere mortals to dream to fly high and never give up. Keep up the great work and the blue side up. This is Captain Haggerty signing off.
This, folks, is the reason why we do this show. And, yeah, good to hear from you, Captain. And thank you for your perseverance, because it would have been easy, so easy, all the things you just discussed, to just give up and do something else. But you kept with it, and you kept pursuing it, and now you're back where you belong. And we are humbled to know that we and other aviation podcasts are a small part of your inspiration to keep going.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
you telling us. Oh, sorry, Rick.
No,
Appreciate
go
you
ahead,
telling us
Steffi, please.
about your perseverance there too, because, man, it's just sometimes it's tough in this industry, and it's not my profession, but I've certainly talked to a lot of pilots along the way, and just depending on the time you get into doing things or world events or where you are in the world, it can take a lot to get to reach reach your goals and dreams, and we appreciate hearing from people who don't give up on that and who stay positive along the way and send in stories to let others know that it's possible and not to give up as well. So thanks.
Absolutely. You certainly honor me, sir. And we're happy that you're, as Jeff said, back in your rightful place. And it's just that it's a journey. It really is. All roads lead to Rome, they say, and Rome really is for those of us who were born with this bug of ours. Rome is the flight deck, and but there are many ways to get there. And for some of us, the road has been long and winding. For others, it's been a straight shot, and that's really nobody's fault. It's just a kind of the hand that you were dealt at the time. But the one thing that those of us that have this bug all share is that perseverance. That no is not an answer, and that love for this craft of ours truly is infectious. And the idea here is to try to inspire as many people as possible to pursue that dream that at times seems unreachable, but it's really not. And you've proven that. And so, again, sir, you honor me, and congratulations.
Yes. Hopefully, at some point in the future, we'll be able to meet you in person and share a great Indian beer or whatever with you.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Or Indian meal, yeah. Oh, I love Indian cuisine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, but honestly, this kind of thing is it's not rewarding, but it's motivational for, well, not only for us who are the hosts of the show, but also people that are listening. And it really does, as you got something from hearing First Officer Rico's amazing, incredible story and his perseverance. I mean, it touched a lot of people, and you're among them, and your audio feedback and your story is obviously going to touch many as well. So thank you very much for doing that, for taking the time to send that feedback in, Captain. We really do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what, Liz? I think she's telling me that the control room is saying we have, about 10 minutes approximately to go for 3 hours. I think that I'd love to end the show on that last piece of feedback, and because it's very inspirational, and I don't know how you top that. So we have some great feedback remaining, which makes Liz happy, and so we'll definitely put that at the front of the line for the next episode. And with that, we're going to wrap up this show and tell you that, as we always do, that you should head over to airlinepilotguy.com, the website where we have all kinds of good stuff that you can check out. And we are also on social media, what I like to, because I'm an old geezer and I like to call things by really stupid, ridiculous names like social meds. And like a bad dad joke. I'm really good at that.
Yeah, I love dad jokes. They're the best.
I do too. I really think they're funny, actually, and because I'm an old dad. So Steph, you have an old dad, but you also are into the kid stuff. The social media.
I'm cool. I'm hip.
Yeah, you
cool,
are.
I'm hip.
Look, we're on this.
Tell us about that cool stuff.
Hey, on the social medias, the IG, the Insta, whatever, I don't know. Facebook, we can start there. We're on Facebook. Facebook.com/airlinepilotguy is where you'll find us. Over at Twitter, we're at APG Crew. We've got, excuse me, I'm all choked up over that, apparently.
Yes, you are.
Got individual Twitter handles pinned to the top of that page if you so desire to look that up. And then on the Insta, we're APG Crew as well. If that's not quite enough for you, I suggest Slack. And I think Hillel may be around to inform us.
He always seems to be. So let me see if we can turn up the hidden microphone. Okay, yeah, I hear the water. Hang on, let me see. Hang on. Hey, Hillel, can you tell us about Slack?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
That's okay. Come on over here. Tell us about Slack, please.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and plain tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Well, thank you, Hillel, for your managing and all the stuff you do over there in Slack.
Where's the soap?
In the soap dish. Okay. You'd think that would be obvious, but...
No.
I don't know. It's kind of dark in there right now, Jeff. Do you have any lights in that place?
Yeah. Well, where he is in the bathroom, we have like bright lights that he can see things, and
He's got a spotlight that follows him around. Music.
And also, we'd like to thank Liz for all of her hard work behind the scenes. She puts in every week before the show, during the show, and after the show. So thank you, Liz. Really appreciate you and all you do.
Keep that feedback coming in, everybody.
Absolutely. And with that, we're going to say, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Talons, Douglas.
Cheers, y'all.
Talons, Douglas, it is.
See you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
I love that Tails Douglas.
Tails Douglas.
Yeah, that's our little tribute to Glenn.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Who lives on in
He
our
does.
hearts and our minds. All right, I'm going to hit the stop button on my recorder.
I didn't record anything.
Thanks everybody in the chat room. I think
Yeah.
I think we got a title really
Do we?
early on there with
Like 5 minutes in. we
Yeah,
got a
I got
title.
a text with it, and I had to go back and look and see what the feedback was that you were talking about because I was on the phone while you were.
So what was the title?
So it has to do with a nut.
Oh, yeah.
ball nuts and
Ball
tugging.
nuts.
And tugging.
Hugging your ball nuts?
Tugging your ball nuts.
Tugging your ball nuts.
Yeah. Well, you can hug them if you want.
Got to be careful.
Yeah, we're
It
giving
doesn't seem like Jeff is
we're
on
giving
board.
Captain Nick a lot of.
It can be kind of cold, so you.
I guess you could hug them later in life. I don't know.
The other ones. So there was another nut suggestion about icy nuts, and then the one that I walked into was Clash of the Type A's. But
The Type A's.
Yeah, that's
and
another
then
good
we
one.
also had one here from Techless and LaShock. Automagically, when you were talking about the auto.
Oh, yeah.
Automagically. But,
Automagically.
That's good. That's good too.
But I think Nick is pretty happy with the tug nuts, but whatever.
Oh, is he? Oh, I
Of
bet
course
he
he
is.
is. Of course he is. That's a surprise.
Not a surprise at all. I'd be happy with his tug nuts as well.
Well then.
All right. I'm not sure what that means.
I'm not sure why.
Let's just not dwell on that.
No,
Yeah,
just
moving on.
Thank you.
Going to end the broadcast, everybody.
Ladies and gents, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, everybody, for
next
being
time.
there. You guys are amazing.
best.
Thank you for supporting us so much and being here every week. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
See ya.